Hey, good morning. Good morning. It's Lolo. Wake and bake with Lolo. What is it? Tuesday? It's Tuesday. I feel like it's Thursday. Does anyone else feel like it's Thursday? Anybody? Anybody feel like that? Oh, good morning. Oh my God. I slept like a log. Oh my. You know how you have like really heavy sleep? Hi, Neil with an I. How are you? You know how you get like really heavy sleep and then it feels pretty good, actually. I'm good. How are you? How are you, my friend? I'm good. Uh-oh, I'm doing my little in and out here. Oh, I don't know if that's gonna work or not, but we'll see. It feels like Wednesday. Yeah, okay, I'll take Wednesday. I take Wednesday. Pepper. I wish it was Thursday. I do too. I don't wish to make time go faster because that's terrible. I don't know what is there a setting I can say like center on my face? Maybe there is. Not that I wanted to center on my face, but you know what I mean? Like maybe I need to be I don't know. I think it's that I need to just move my microphone in the right position. And probably other people know how to do that. Hi, Teresa. Pepper, it's so good to see you. Oh. Wait, it's not Friday? Clark, I know, right? I thought it was, I guess I was hoping it was Thursday. I don't know. It just feels like a Thursday. You know what I mean? It just feels like a Thursday. I don't know. But it's great to see everybody. Really nice to see everyone. And it's a interesting day to be alive. Not really. I mean, actually, I guess it is. I mean, every day you're alive, I guess, is an interesting day to be alive, right? Yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, it's a Tuesday that feels like a Wednesday. Remember when we used to sing that song? It's a Tuesday that feels like a Wednesday. It's a Rush song, actually. It feels like another Monday to me. Womp womp. Oh, Teresa, I'm so sorry. And I don't like Mondays. I don't like Mondays. Yeah, I know. Well, that's how I feel about Tuesdays. I don't like Tuesdays either because Tuesday just means like it's not committing. It's not committing to the whole week. I found out from a crossword puzzle yesterday that the blood. Wait. There is nothing better than to start the morning with a good Uranus joke. I defy you to find a funnier word on the planet, but with great reverence I say that. I don't think it's funny like I would make fun of it. I think it's funny like I honor you as the world's greatest joke. Oh my god, I found out from a crossword puzzle yesterday that the blood of Uranus created the Furies. Do with that what you will. Oh my god, Neil, that's hilarious. Oh, it's good to see everyone. Hi, Clark. All the OGs. Oh man, we got OGs in the house. Neil, you made me laugh like that's a legitimate laugh. I love that. Hey, Uranus fun fact for the day. Good luck. The blood of Uranus will water the meadows of France. Hi, Lee. Hi, Oomph. The blood of Uranus. The blood of Uranus. I could see a real rock opera with that, Oomph. That sounds like a rock opera. That's the beginning of something really good. I don't know why France. Oh, is it the war thing? Is that kind of a war thing? I get that. I guess I get that. Like a world. I won't reveal why Uranus was bleeding. Okay, everyone. Neil's on fire today. I'm just going to tell you right now. Neil's on fire. That explains the fields of poppies. There you go. That's right. Urban legend. No. Rural legend, I guess. Ah, good morning. Good morning. I know. I need coffee is such an important part of everybody. The best part of waking up is coffee in my cup. Must get coffee. I know. I need to wake up because I did this deep sleep, and then when you wake up from a deep sleep and you're kind of like you're not groggy because you did get good sleep, but you're just like ooh, you're kind of like ooh, that was a good sleep. That's kind of where I'm at right now. Anyway, oh my God, the news does not stop fucking with us. I don't know. I wish I could like stop acting shocked and just be like, yeah, and today 8 million people were basically sentenced to death. Oh, okay. Um let me just make sure. I want to check the headlines to see if I have not checked the headlines this morning, which is not a good idea. Not a good idea. You got to check those headlines in the morning. Florida primary. Ooh, is that today? It must be today. Alaska, Florida, and beyond. Okay, we're going to talk. I just want to give you an update on that, actually. In fact, I'll put this over here. Let's do this. Ah, no. Who? Who was? No, 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 no. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? I'm going to play you later. Come on. Hold on there. Hold on there, girl. All right. Let's take a look. I don't know if you even heard that, but one of my tabs started playing. It was so terrible. Okay, where am I? Oh, here we go. I think I'm here. Yeah. Okay. Oh, here we go. Okay, here we go. Yeah. The blood of Uranus. Yeah, blood of Uranus. Opening the pool, then breakfast on the patio. Oh, God. What a great time in Michigan, right? Late summer. That just sounds like what Michigan was built for. Is that I mean, that's what I think of when I think of Michigan. I know it's cold in the winter, don't get me wrong. But, when I think of Michigan, I think of, like, late summer, kind of beautiful, that, mowed grass kind of I don't know, I just imagine it almost brings me back to summers in my childhood, which weren't spent in Michigan, they were spent in California, but, that kind of, childlike. That's what I think of when I think of Michigan. I think it's that I really fell for all those ads that they had, remember the ads they used to have for Michigan? Or maybe they still do, I don't know. But I used to fall for that and go like, "Oh, man, that looks so great. Look at all those lakes. Oh my god." Like that's what I was all about. Oh, thank you. I know you were wondering, how does Lolo feel about Michigan? I don't know. All right, these are just headlines. Okay, Florida primary is today and Alaska. I always think of that Alaska joke. Do you know Alaska? No, wait. Do you know Juneau? I don't know. Alaska. That's one of it. Yeah. Oh my God, we're still doing Uranus jokes. I thought I ruined. Oh, Clark, no. Oh my God, are you kidding me? Anything you did only added to the joy that Uranus brings. Come on. That's the funniest word in the planet. The humidity is gone today. Oh, that's the key. It was a dry heat. Nice breeze. It's a great time of year, yeah. I remember those ads, "Come to Michigan, but avoid Detroit." I don't remember those. Oh, stop. I don't remember those. Florida primary underscores state's new blah, 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 blah. Okay, alright, juggernaut? A juggernaut? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of shitty Republicans, but that's not what I would call a juggernaut. It would be what I call a clusterfuck of Republicans. It is the Roger Stone home base. Okay. Searching for answers from the man accused of sabotaging Alaska's Senate race. What the fuck? What happened? Oh, candidate Dan Sullivan, a retired teacher. What the fuck? Wait, that sounds kind of exciting. Oh yes, I know. God damn. Wait till tomorrow. You'll possess it tomorrow. Uh I don't know if I want to read this or not because we have a lot. Maybe we'll come back to this if it's like if we have time, but I don't know if I want to focus solely on this. Although it is kind of interesting. Including the Senate where enragement is not member of the party. Oh, weird. Okay. All right. The morning glories are out. Oh, that's nice. LOL. I joke. I know. I've heard that joke before. I mean, somewhat in different words. That Dan Sullivan is hilarious. I know. Is that what it is? He's shares a name with the incumbent senator he hopes to defeat as he is spoiler, tried to divide the Republican vote. We traveled to Alaska. Wow, it's funny because they never traveled to Florida to do that. And that happens in every Florida election ever, is that they try and fuck with the names of candidates, standing up fake candidates. They do all kinds of shenanigans down in Florida. Why are we so obsessed with this? Okay, well maybe we'll come back to it. Definitely. But I want to just keep going. Let me do this. Meow, 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 meow. All right, let me see what else. Hey Dan, you look like a troublemaker. Doesn't he look like a troublemaker? You're a troublemaker, Dan. What is he? Is he a Republican? He's a Republican and they think he's a Democrat? Is that what it is? All right. And then Florida, we just know Florida's going to be fucked. $47 billion wall plan. How Israel's financial chokehold is stifling the West Bank economy. Oh, we can definitely, I didn't see this. Yeah, we might read that. That's for sure. Okay, great. We're going to do that. That's great. We're going to do that. We're going to do it. In fact, I'm going to put it with my other things that are related to not that. Okay, I'm sorry. This is kind of silly that I'm doing this. Okay. All right. Well, let me entertain you. I'm just surprised there are two Dan Sullivans in a state with what? 1,750 people. The Dan Sullivans. Well, I mean, pick a more unique name and then people won't show up with your same name. I don't know. Call yourself Daniel or something. I don't know. Okay, I wanted to start. I have a lot of different topics today, but I wanted to start with the economy a little bit because I was just thinking about this reshoring boom that everybody keeps talking about. And so I found this really interesting. And actually, this website, I mean, it's obvious. IoT is like a consultant for internet and shit like that. But they put out this really interesting page about reshoring because it came up in my little researchy kind of work last night to think about reshoring and whether or not that's real or fake or whatever. I don't know. So let me show you what I found. The bottom line is no, the reshoring boom is not really happening in the way that they say it is. Must have been all the Sullivans who flooded into Alaska after 1867. Yeah, that's it. I remember the Great Sullivan Invasion of 1867. No, I don't know. I'm making that up. I'm so sorry. Okay, this was actually issued in May of this year. So again, I apologize. Sometimes I pick up a little bit older things, but this seemed to really capture kind of, and it's, only a few months old. U.S. manufacturing reshoring boom, what the data says 1 year after Liberation Day tariffs. Let me see. Let me get it a little big. Make it a little bigger. Bigger still. Why the data doesn't fit the hype. I can't really read these kinds of charts. I apologize, but they're very interesting and they will be in the link that I share about this. Hi, Teresa. I don't know if I really said hi to you. I'm still probably in my REM sleep. A reshoring boom due to the US's widespread tariffs has not happened based on macro data as part of IoT Analytics 34-page industrial macro pulse, their May 2026 report. That's what this is from. In general, U.S. manufacturing construction spending has steadily declined since 2024, driven by a 44% slowdown in spending on electronics factories and semiconductor labs since their peak in mid-2024. Remember the CHIPS Act? I do. Discounting the electronics sector, there was a 5.6% jump in manufacturing construction spending since the start of the tariffs, lower than would be expected for a boom. Still, the report offers positive signs for U.S. manufacturing health and shows that data centers and power generation and infrastructure are the real stories of U.S. industrial growth. Oops. What companies announced in response to tariffs and what data presents a year later have diverged, and this divergence has implications for CapEx, capital expenditures, like, building buildings and building assets and shit like that, inventory, shit like that, capital, supplier strategy, and where the next demand wave will land. So and just kind of stay with me. Tariffs led to a U.S. manufacturing onshoring, reshoring commitments. In February 2025, U.S. dump began imposing tariffs on China, Canada, and Mexico. Then in April 2025, he announced widespread tariffs on nearly every country, calling the move Liberation Day. Bam, 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 bam. A month later, IoT Analytics published a report, The Evolving Tariff Landscape Impact on the Economy and Business. I haven't read that. The analysis found that as a result of these tariffs, a large number of CEOs of public companies began committing to reshoring to the U.S. to avoid the tariffs and benefit from local production. In quarter 2 of 2025, 227 public industrial firms announced footprint changes, the majority expanding within the U.S. or towards the U.S. What's that mean? 87 companies expanding existing U.S. operations. 33 said they would move production from China to the U.S., and 13 said they would relocate from Mexico or Canada to the U.S. Some commitments, and then they go through some of the companies who made, we're planning a $10 billion to enhance our domestic property. Despite ongoing uncertainty about the validity and legal basis of these tariffs, the main question a year later is there evidence of manufacturing reshoring boom in the U.S.? The White House surely believes so. In April 22, 2026, press release titled Trump Effect, American Manufacturing is Roaring Back as factory activity hits 4-year high. Yeah, when you're building them, it's going to be high. Largest reshoring wave in American history as companies invest trillions to build and expand here at home. A leading indicator for that statement is the ISM Manufacturing PMI. What is that? The Producing Manufacturers Index or something like that, in which in March 2026 reached a multi-year high at 52.7. The latest IoT Analytics report, Industrial Macro Pulse, May 2026, examines recent U.S. manufacturing construction data, among other indicators of industrial activity. Based on the data in the report, IoT Analytics concludes that it's too early to call out a reshoring boom in the U.S. The data show a strong manufacturing sector, but no boom. Yeah. U.S. factory construction is on the decline. What is this? Oh, this is Q3 2025. All right. So let's see. Q1 2025. I'll just show you is this one right here. If you can see where my little doodad is. And then it's just kind of been going down since that first quarter of 2025. 2025. Manufacturing construction spending generally down, dragged by electronics. Spending on manufacturing construction in the U.S. reached blah, blah, blah in June 2024, according to the U.S. Census Bureau's Value of Construction Put in Place, or VIP, survey. Since then, spending has declined 21%. This decline is largely attributed to a sharp decline in construction spending in the computer, electronic, and electrical sector, down 44% since its peak in July 2024. Propelled by the 2022 CHIPS Act. Hi, TV2. How are you? How you doing? Hence, there we go. Thank you, Lee, our trade representative. Hence the massive increase in demand for copper. They can build the final assembly here, but they still need imports to operate. South Carolina just pulled a $150 million bond from Scout Motors to build new facilities here. No, the reshoring boom is a myth in the industries that I support. Tariffs on inputs are prohibitive. How you doing, TV2? I hope you're well. It's good to see you. Let's see. All right. So you kind of get my point, and obviously I would love to I'll share this and then you can kind of dive into the parts where it's more interesting. But there was another part. Oh, here we go. Other macroeconomic indicators, no boom visible. Manufacturing employment and import ratio further support lack of reshoring boom. With manufacturing construction as a leading indicator of growth, it's not surprising that other lagging indicators such as employment and imports exports also do not support the thesis of a manufacturing reshoring boom. Data from the US Federal Reserve Economic Data, Fred, show that manufacturing employment has declined 1% since the widespread Liberation Day tariffs, with only a slight uptick in the latest numbers. Meanwhile, Kearney's reshoring index, oh my God, there's an index, which measures year over year change in the U.S. manufacturing import ratio, shows that while 2025 was a slightly better year than 2024 for the U.S., from negative 115 to a negative 86, the U.S. remained well in negative territory, and manufactured goods output dropped 0.4%. So you guys are lying. You guys are lying. But here we go. Here's the analyst takeaway. It's made of air. The House of Cards. The House of I don't know what. Okay. IoT analytics analyst Joaquin Fernandez performed the analysis found in the Industrial Macro Pulse May 2026, which provides the current global economic outlook and projections, identifies expanding and contracting manufacturing economies, shares current component lead times, and gives insights into order books across key industrial sectors. While there's no evidence of a U.S. manufacturing boom, there is evidence that some of the companies that announced changes to their operational footprint in the U.S. are following through. For example, Apogee closed its plant in Brampton, Ontario in September 2025 as part of its effort to optimize its manufacturing footprint that serves the northern U.S. Additionally, the data shows some positive upswings in U.S. manufacturing as covered in the insights. Here we show the real current and future construction booms are data centers and power infrastructure. And so now if the reshoring boom that Dump refers to, if the reshoring boom is merely right now, the commitments made, so we're going to move that. You know that factory over there, we're going to move it. Yeah. It's going to cost $500 billion. Yeah, that's right. All right. So this is a house of cards. This boom that is being, if there's any boom, it's just it's not even that. It's just really, right. Exactly, Neil. Thank you. That's supposed to be good news for people. Okay. Ask the people in Ontario. But this boom is basically the buildup of these data centers and whatever accompanying power structures they need in order to operate. I think that's almost a one and done. So to me, that's not a boom. That's a short-term uptick in manufacturing because you've got a bunch of construction happening. Yeah. So that's what I think about that. So again, let me go ahead and just I'll share this with you so that you'll have more detailed. But I think that like for this, grid constraints are driving a utility capex surge, capital expenditures. Data center growth is increasingly running into a constraint, the grid. The construction data shows power infrastructure spending was largely flat from 2020 to 2022, up in 2023 and plateaued in 24. However, the year-over-year growth rate has been quietly accelerating through 2025 from about 1% in early 2025 to roughly 6% by year end. They're getting ahead of their skis. Anyway, I'll go ahead and link this. No, you don't have to buy their analyst report. This piece has more than enough information that will probably satisfy your hunger for data. But I just want to give you a little fucked up financial Tuesday moment. Anyways, Speaking of which, just a couple more things on the economy. This number helps explain why many Americans are down on the economy. This is from July from CBS News. It was from Bloomberg originally, but I don't have a Bloomberg subscription, so apologies. Um, American workers' share of the economic pie has fallen to its lowest level since 1947 when the federal government began tracking the data. According to an analysis by the Federal Reserve economists, the measure known as labor share of income, which is a new data point I'm going to track, tracks how much of the nation's economic output flows to workers in the form of wages and salaries as opposed to the share that goes to investors and corporations through profits, dividends, and other capital income. A shrinking labor share of income indicates that more economic gains are flowing to shareholders and business owners rather than to workers. As of early 2026, American workers received 54.1% of national income, according to research from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. By comparison, that figure topped 65% almost 80 years ago when the government began tracking the data following World War II. In early 2020, it stood at 57.7%, indicating that workers have continued to lose ground since the pandemic. Roughly 48% of Americans said their financial situation was worse in May than a year ago, the highest share since January 2023, according to a recent survey by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Three-quarters of Americans said their incomes aren't keeping up with inflation, according to a May CBS News poll. Roughly 29% of respondents said the economy was in good shape. MAGA. Workers are getting a smaller piece of the pie. The share of total economic output that goes to workers through wages and salaries has fallen to its lowest level since World War II. Oh, there's a lowest, an est he can use. It's the lowest. How about using that? It's the lowest. American workers are taking home a smaller share of the nation's income, capturing less of what the economy produces due to several longstanding issues ranging from the erosion of union membership to tax law. Oh, it's their fault. It's that they're not being members fast enough. Come on now. What did I say? Membership to tax law changes that have steered more gains to CEOs, investors, and high income Americans, economists told CBS News. As those currents played out over decades, many low and middle income workers have lost economic ground, making them feel increasingly financially precarious, even as the economy as a whole has continued to expand and rebound in the wake of multiple crises. You've got a lot of people who seem to work for firms in the aggregate seem to be doing really well, said Josh Bivens, chief economist at the Economic Policy Institute, a nonpartisan think tank. They're very profitable, yet workers' wages aren't growing particularly fast relative to how fast the firms are growing. What could it be? I wonder. Oh. He added, a lot of people look up after 10 years of working and just feel like they have not gained as much ground as they want. More and more stuff just seems to be out of their grasp because wages have not kept up. A related way to measure the shift is to consider the change in U.S. worker shares of company profits, Bivens said. Workers received 71.3 of corporate income in the first quarter of 2026, down from 77.8% at the start of 2020, according to an EPI analysis of labor data. In 1979, the starting year, it was 79%. That figure shows that the share of corporate income that goes to people's paychecks rather than to business profits is declining, with more rewards flowing to shareholders and top executives. Boy, they really know how to repeat themselves. The change in labor income helps explain the emergence of the so-called K-shaped economy, said Angela Hanks, chief of policy programs at the left-leaning Century Foundation. The term describes the growing fortunes of America's top earners, while low and middle income earners are failing to keep up. You see this chart and you immediately understand why consumer sentiment is so low. You understand why at 4% unemployment, people are pessimistic about the economy, she said. Even if you have a job, even if you feel like your household is relatively stable, you do feel this is an underlying precarity at all times. Let's see. The declines in labor share of income and corporate income are the cumulative result of policy changes over the past few decades, including the One Big Beautiful Bill, which basically gave companies who are reshoring anything or building data centers or whatever, or causing, people to have diseases in outside of Memphis, Tennessee, because grok is breaking the law. Um, you have I just totally lost my train of thought because I did that. I know, I did just see that. Yeah, the K-shaped economy not being over. I did see Justin Wolfers. It actually might be where I started. Yeah, platypus economics. I'm totally have it. Totally have it. In fact, I might even have something linked here, but maybe I didn't. Um, but I wanted to get more of the data kind of thing. Union membership has steadily eroded, falling to 10% of all workers last year from 20% in 1983, according to the Center for Economic and Policy Research. Wow. A good symbol of this value is, oh, that's what it is. The big ugly bill gave companies who are reshoring 100% expensing of all expenses to build things here in the United States. 100% expensing. That doesn't usually happen. And they can take it all in the first year. Make that make sense. What does that do to corporate tax revenue coming into the door? It doesn't do good things. A good symbol of this value. I know I love Justin. I always look at Justin first. A good symbol of this is the value of federal minimum wage. It's the lowest today in inflation adjusted terms than it has been in about 50 years. And that's just a clear symbol that boosting wages for typical workers has not been a policy priority, Bivens said. Fuck yeah, it hasn't. The federal minimum wage remains at $7.25 an hour. $7.25 an hour. At the same time, the shift of income away from workers and toward investors and corporations is becoming self-reinforcing. Oh, really? It's not just greed? It's not just greed, you think? As labor's share declines, it becomes harder for labor to exercise its power to demand higher wages, better working conditions, and easier for capital to suppress that demand, she added. In other words, as workers get a smaller piece of the economic pie, they lose power to bargain for better pay and working conditions. By contrast, corporations and shareholders gain leverage in keeping the upper hand. To be sure, other factors are weighing on Americans' views. Restaurant inflation, resurgent inflation, which in May hit its highest level in more than 3 years, is pressuring people's budgets. With Gallup finding in a recent poll that high gasoline prices have caused financial hardship for 2/3 of households. I'll link this, but I wanna make sure we have a lot to get to, so I wanted to definitely get that in there. Not even close to keeping up with cost of living. Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's totally wrong. It's just all very, very, very wrong. I don't like it. Let's see. I'm not sure I want to read that one yet. Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I don't want to. Okay, we're gonna move on to a pretty serious topic. I was checking in on Sudan, the Sudan story last night, and also just wondering, about UAE and their involvement in the civil war that's happening in the Sudan. So I found this article. This is from Canary, a publication journalism. Air thick with flies, UAE's Colombian mercenaries recount horrors of Sudan's siege. And this is because I found that UAE was recruiting mercenaries from Colombia to fight in the Sudan. And so I found this piece and I wanted to see it. I wanted to read it. The gazelle story. What gazelle story? Is there a gazelle story? Oh my God. Where's the gazelle? United Arab Emirates proxy war in Sudan has killed and displaced millions. The UK and the rest of the international community have let the war roll on unabated. Former members of UAE's Colombian Mercenary Corps have now recounted the siege and the fall of the city of El Fasher in 2025. Yeah, maybe not the gazelle story. It might not be. I wish. One soldier, named as Luis, described the aftermath of the assault in horrific detail. And I'm just going to give a warning. There are details in here that that are hard to hear. So just content warning. If you need to mute, walk away, whatever you need to do, please do it, because this war is really disgusting. Not that any war isn't, but this one is particularly cruel. The air was thick with flies drawn by both the dead bodies and the heaps of trash. There were bodies that had already turned purple from being exposed to the sun for so long. It was awful having those flies buzzing around you while you ate. Luis, who was working with the UAE-backed Rapid Support Forces, told the Financial Times the paramilitaries they were working with, who controlled the city, told him they were incinerating the dead because they worried about cholera. But some of the sites troubled him, piles of corpses that looked like they had been crushed by vehicles, bodies of women and children. El Fasher fell in late October 2025. A humanitarian NGO reported afterwards that the bloodstained locations of massacres could be seen by satellite. Luis told the FT he was one of around 2,000 Colombian mercenaries who arrived in the Sudan to fight alongside the RSF. He said the people who brought him there worked for a private security company called the GSS Group. Wait, do we know about them? Global Security Services Group, based in the United Arab Emirates, run by South African managers. I think we've heard about these guys before. I think we've heard about this. It's alleged to have links to the UAE authorities. I'll have to look in my bookmarks to see if we had a story about that. Some of the soldiers for hire were special forces veterans or had battled insurgents in the South American jungles. Some had been gunslingers for the South American cartels. A few had already spent years working as contractors in the Middle East, but what they saw in El Fasher was something else entirely. Some Colombian mercenaries were even recruited through a shadowy recruitment office registered in London, according to a Guardian report from November 2025. The one-bedroom flat off North London's Creighton Road is, according to UK government records, tied to a transnational network of companies involved in the mass recruitment of mercenaries to fight in Sudan, alongside paramilitaries accused of myriad war crimes and genocide. Another soldier, Manuel, said he worked with Ukrainian and South African mercenaries in Darfur in 2024. I have never in my life seen such poverty and misery. It's heartbreaking. Displaced families face a choice between starving to death or driving a car, carrying a rifle, having food. He also described the use of child soldiers by RSF. There are kids no older than 12 carrying rifles they can't lift and bearing the responsibility of a war in which they don't even know what they're supposed to do. Adding, it's the Emiratis that put the most money and resources in the conflict and who provide the weapons to the RSF. The 3-year war has killed thousands and displaced millions, probably hundreds of thousands. The RSF, backed by the UAE, is fighting the Sudanese government with gold interests and regional influence at stake. Numerous foreign actors, including the UK, have caused the war to fester through active participation and/or outright passivity. Israel, too, is a major player in the war. The war in Sudan is theoretically between the Arab-majority RSF and the Sudanese government, but foreign states pursuing their own interests are backing the combatants. Egypt backs the government alongside Russia, Turkey, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar. Israel has backed both sides at different times. Oh my God. The RSF has killed Sudanese civilians in vast numbers. Some estimates say 150,000 people have died and more than 10 million civilians have been displaced by fighting. The people of Sudan remain trapped at the meeting point of rapacious regional and global powers. Hi, Stephanie. How are you, darling? So that's the update. And actually, I found this on Democracy Now! From May. Let me just see if it's the same story. I don't think it is. So this is the same, staying in the same realm, from Bogota to El Fasher, how UAE trained Colombian mercenaries to fight alongside RSF in Sudan. It's a Democracy Now! Interview, but I'll just read a little bit of what might be other information, new information that they have. Colombian mercenaries accused of committing war crimes in Sudan were trained on military bases in the UAE, according to a new report from Human Rights Watch. The group's investigation outlines how, since 2024, the Abu Dhabi-based security company Global Security Services Group hired hundreds of Colombian private military contractors who were deployed to Sudan to fight alongside the RSF. Human Rights Watch found the evidence that the private military contractors were in El Fasher in October 2025, when the RSF seized the key city and committed widespread massacres and rape. The report adds to evidence the UAE's involvement in the war in Sudan, despite the government's repeated denials. UAE's apparent support to the RSF is a broader pattern whereby the UAE has been intervening in neighboring conflicts for over a decade to protect its political and economic influence abroad, said Human Rights Watch researcher Joey Shea. The UAE still has not received any accountability and has not yet been called out by name by the international community. In the context of Sudan, we're still relying on these ambiguous and weak statements, calling out external actors fueling the war rather than naming names and calling out the UAE. And so let's see. All right. So I'll include that. It has a video of the interview. And if we have time, maybe we'll come back and watch that. But for now, let's see. I am going to play a little video for you. This is, I just found this on the internet last night, again, when I was preparing the stuff for the show this morning. And airman arrested after protesting Trump in uniform speaks out. And so I thought we might listen to this gentleman, the gentleman who was arrested on the steps of the Capitol not so long ago. So here we go.
Was arrested last month on the steps of the U.S. Capitol after calling for President Trump and Vice President Vance's impeachment and removal from office over the war in Iran and other issues. And tonight is his first television interview since that arrest. And Major Watson, obviously, you have done this after incredible consideration. You've been in the Air Force for 17 years. You're in the Air Force. And you know that by choosing to speak out as you did in uniform, calling for the commander-in-chief's impeachment and removal from office, that carries grave consequences, violates the laws governing the U.S. military. But you chose to do it, knowing all of that. Tell me why.
Well, I think the most important thing for all of us to keep in mind is what is happening with President Trump is not normal. He has failed us, and not only is he a failure as president, he is flagrantly violating the Constitution, breaking the law, engaged in rampant corruption, and is killing Americans. And that is unacceptable to me. And it should be unacceptable to all of us. I feel like, unfortunately, many of us have gotten used to this, and we've normalized to this conduct, and we think that there's nothing that we can do about it. And one of the reasons I chose to use the pseudonym of Just a Nobody was to underscore that you do not have to be somebody special to take action and reject this government. We can all do something about what's happening in our country. And I want to just inspire people and bring the conversation to impeach, convict, remove. And there are organizations out there that I joined with, Removal Coalition with Jessica Denson, and Citizens Impeachment with Kira Havens and John Boniface's Free Speech for People, that are not getting enough attention. And I want to try to spotlight them as much as I can and to inspire Americans to act, because I believe we can defeat this government if we just take a stand.
So, when you talk about that desire to inspire, you're not, of course, a somebody. You are a somebody, right? You're not an anybody. You are a somebody, right? You're a sitting major and in the Air Force. After your arrest, the military had placed you under a gag order. They restricted your movements. You're under investigation as you and I speak, and obviously the consequences you could face for speaking out because you are who you are include court-martial, removal from the Air Force, loss of pay and benefits. I mean, you could even go to prison. And you knew all of that, right? You knew all of that when you made this decision to try to inspire others. How did you go through the thought process that made you willing to pay
go to prison,
the price that this may cost?
Nothing that is worth doing is something that you can do for free. Everything that is worthwhile is going to cost something. It's going to be hard. It's going to require sacrifice. And we are in an incredibly challenging time. And in order for us to get out of this situation, we all have to have courage. So for me to take action, if I don't sacrifice something, if I don't give something up, then it's just words, and words are easy to ignore. So if I don't put myself out there in a big way, then it's just noise. And there's plenty of noise that we're all listening to every day. There's plenty of people telling us the obvious truth, but there's no cost being paid. And there's a lot of ways to view that as cynically or skeptically or whatever the case may be, and just dismiss it and say, okay, you're not making any difference.
Yes. Oh, Matt,
But
we're gonna
we
talk
just
about that.
have to be willing to accept that we
Talk about
can change what is happening in our country if we're just willing to pay a price for it. So all that I could do was ask myself, what's the highest price that I'm willing to pay? And this is what I ultimately came up with. And it is absolutely motivated by my oath to the Constitution. But any American can make this choice. Any American can say, this government is intolerable, and I want a better future for my children, and I want to hand them a better country than I inherited. And that is ultimately a huge inspiration for me as well.
I hope this guy runs.
You
for
mentioned the
office.
Constitution, you mentioned corruption, and I know you have specific reasons for why you feel this is necessary and why the president should be removed from office. It is obviously, it includes the war in Iran, but it is much more than that. But it is in the context of the war in Iran at this moment, right, that you are choosing to do this. What is it about the war and this commander-in-chief, President Trump's handling of it, that made you do this at this moment?
So I know that there are some folks probably in your audience that have seen my interview with Jessica Denson. I talk about this a little bit. And it's important to just underscore that what is happening with the Iran war is very predictable strategically. And a lot of much smarter people than me knew that it would have gone pretty poorly. Like the closing of the Strait of Hormuz, that's known. And a lot of the consequences that we're seeing, there was probably advice that was being given to the President of the United States saying, this is what's going to happen if you do this. And he chose to do it anyways. And that's an important context to keep in mind with all of this. But at the end of the day, it's also more important to remember that what he did was unconstitutional. It was an aggressive war of choice, that if we saw another country do that, we would probably look to our allies and say, what are we going to do about this? And you could make the comparison with what happened in Ukraine. That was an aggressive war of choice. And now we as a country, America, is choosing to do that with Iran.
All right, Major Jason Watson, I appreciate your time very much, and I thank you for speaking out. Of course, you may say it's a nobody, but it certainly is a somebody and something that is going to matter for a lot of people. So thank you very much, and I appreciate your time in speaking to us tonight.
Thank you for having me on.
All right. That was good. I hadn't heard that young man speak, so I'm happy to hear him talk and give his opinion. And speaking of what our beautiful Max brought up, let me go to that because I have the story of the thing. Wait, where is it? Where is it? But wait, where is it? Man, where is it? Okay, yeah. Let me see, because I did have it last night. So let me just make sure that I didn't do something really stupid. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay. All right, where am I? Turn around, bright eyes. Oh, I think I just fucked up. Okay. Hold on. Hold, please. We are now processing. Hold, please. We are now processing. Okay. Oh, we're live on Twitter too, by the way. Great interview. Thanks for sharing that. Oh, thanks, TV2. No problem. I hadn't seen it. I hadn't really heard him speak, so I'm really happy to have an opportunity to hear him speak. Let me pull up. Let's see. Where am I? Where am I? Where am I? Where am I? Here it is. 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 This is what Max is talking about. Yeah. Krusty Krab pizza is the pizza for you and me. 17 years of service and doing the right thing for his country. And the hard thing, right, Teresa? I'm sorry, but knowing the military, the little bit that I do, it seems they've made it very difficult to obviously speak up. I mean, I understand in some regards, but I know that he knew he was taking a great chance about being arrested and other things. I didn't know you could be arrested for free speech, but that's okay. Hey, it's a new world. It's a new day. It's a new dawn. And I'm feeling sick. Dun, 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 dun. All right. I posted this yesterday everywhere. When I saw this come up on my YouTube feed, I went, excuse me, what now? U.S. Pardon Attorney Ed Martin. And it says, I think the first thing that struck me was, it seems clear to me that this announcement is well timed to allow former J6ers to get their weapons back in time for the midterms. J6 again, anybody? I don't know. How are you guys doing? Okay, let me show you this unfortunate.
I'm Ed Martin.
Ed Martin, come down to Crazy Eddie's. Crazy Eddie's. We got pardons. And we're going to give you your guns back. That's right. Here I'm Crazy Eddie. We're having a fire sale. That's right. I'm fired, but it's going to have a sale. I'm Ed Martin, your pardon attorney. This is literally what this dick sounds like. And I've got more on Ed Martin. Don't you worry. This guy's a real wannabe dictator kind of fucking operative. All right, here we go. Listen to U.S. Pardon Attorney Ed Martin.
I'm Ed Martin, the United States Pardon Attorney. I'd like to share some news about the Department of Justice's plan.
And I have a sectional for you that is going to blow your mind. That's Ed for me.
Plan to help citizens of our nation who have lost their federal firearms rights. We've recently published a rule that delivers on our promise to strengthen and protect the Second Amendment.
Stop this deal.
To put that rule into effect, my team in the Pardon Office is hard at work to ensure that we can create and utilize an application process that balances public safety with the protection of your Second Amendment rights. Soon, we'll launch an online portal to accept all incoming applications. For those of you who are seeking relief, I know you're anxious to get started. And while you're waiting, I'd ask you to visit our website and find out more about what.
Look at this fucking hippie's hair, okay? All right? Look at Ed Martin's hippie hair. He literally has hair back here. If you look, he's got like a mullet. This man has a mullet. Ed Martin has a fucking mullet.
What you'll need. That website is www.justice.gov/FFRR. There you'll learn about what you need to gather together and what you'll need to submit.
Yeah.
We'll continue to update our website with all resources, new, old resources, and all the information you'll need to help assist you in getting relief. Please keep watching this space for more information. The launch date of the firearms restoration application, it's just around the corner. And I'm looking forward to providing relief to many worthy applicants.
All right. So that is what Ed proposed. And let me see. Let me get back here. So yeah, that's Ed Martin. That was yesterday. But let me also introduce you to Ed Martin, because I have another story that came up. When would this done? This was March of this year. Okay. So, and I haven't checked in yet with my friend Phil Fox, my silver fox at the DC Board of Professional Responsibility. But that guy you just saw, oh yeah, in March, DC Bar begins disciplinary proceedings against Ed Martin. Only the best people. Only the best people. A new legal filing accused Mr. Martin, a senior Justice Department official, of an unethical pressure campaign against Georgetown University. Oh, your hair. You changed your hair, baby. You're letting your long hair fly. And I can link more about Ed Martin in the description of the video, because Gal Squad has a ton of information about this guy that I'm not even as up on as I need to be. The discipline, but I will be, because we're going to watch. We can't watch the disciplinary hearings together, unfortunately, because I can't stream the court proceedings. Ed Martindale. That's right. TV2. That's it. That's it. He needs one of those long, like, microphones with the little ball on the top, just like the guy in, like, Match Game or something. Okay, the disciplinary body for lawyers in the District of Columbia, who is represented by my major crush, Phil Silver Fox. I think that's his name. He could host Hollywood Squares or shows like that. Yeah, exactly. But it would be like you die at the end or something. You know what I mean? And now you're gonna get waterboarded. All right. A senior Justice Department official in the Dump administration accusing him of misconduct in seeking to punish Georgetown University's law school, according to a filing. Mr. Martin, who has spearheaded efforts by Dump to use the Justice Department to punish the president's perceived enemies, faces 2 counts of misconduct. And wait until we really get a hold of him, because his misconduct just keeps giving and giving and giving. The filing, submitted on Friday before the D.C. Court of Appeals Board on Professional Responsibility. Phil. Hamilton Fox. That's it. Well, his middle name's Phil. I love Hamilton Fox. I have such a crush on that guy. I'm telling you, what you need to do is watch the DC Board of Professional Responsibility YouTube channel. Sometimes Phil is doing the questioning of the bad lawyers, right? When lawyers come up before the board, not that they're bad, but you know what I mean. When they're up before the board for disciplinary action, Phil is like the prosecutor for the DC bar, and I just love him. And he is, I don't know, he just gets me, makes me tingle inside. Let's see. Hamilton Fox the Third. Come on. Just, oh my God, just marry me now. He's probably happily married. Oh well. He's the Tish James stalker. Yep, right, Teresa. Thank you. Mr. Martin, who was forced to step down as the U.S. attorney in Washington because he didn't have the Senate votes for confirmation, because he's even the fucking Republicans can't vote for this guy. Literally. Instead became the Justice Department's pardon attorney. Money, money, money. It's so funny. That's great, because he's really good friends with Roger Stone. So that really kind of just cuts out a lot of the middlemen, right? Like him and Roger can now take in all the money for the pardons. I'm sorry. Can anyone actually believe this is happening right now? Because I'm having a really hard time with it. I don't know. In that role, he has had far more access and influence in the White House than many of his predecessors. So there you go. Good job, everybody. The complaint is a significant escalation in the efforts to use state and local bars to punish lawyers in the Dump administration for purported violations of ethics rules in pursuit of the president's aims. Oh, brother. Last week, Attorney General Pam Bondi proposed a new rule to try and stall or delay bar associations from conducting such investigations into lawyers at the department. I'm going to tell you right now, okay? I'm going to tell you right fucking now. If we don't start acknowledging the package of fuckery that is intended to upend any democratically influenced institutions, we need to talk about it as the package deal that it is. Okay? That's what's kind of like gelling in my mind right now. The jello in my mind. Jesus Christ. Mr. Martin is accused of breaking. See, this is why the communication was so important, why the disinformation was so important, because we got to a point now where we are so overwhelmed. I won't say desensitized, because I'm not desensitized, and I don't think people are generally desensitized at all. I think there's probably some that are, but whatever. But we literally are just watching in real time as they say what they're going to do, even when we say, oh my God, that's disgusting and should be illegal. They're going to do it anyway. And what has happened is this has been, I believe, a systemic fucking process of delegitimizing things like the bar, things like universities, law firms, all those things, delegitimizing them so that they can be destroyed. This is the Seven Mountains. It really, really fucking is. They are systematically executing on the dominionist kind of, break down these different parts of society and bend them to your will. And if you say disinformation long enough, you get to this point where your literal federal government is just saying what they're going to do. And because we've already been desensitized, or at least I guess they hope we've been desensitized by all the disinformation that has come before, that we're going to roll over and take whatever they say or do. And the courts are trying to stand in the breach, but it's hard because they did a lot of work to get either, fucked up judges, canon, in the system, or they push it to oh, thank you so much. Oh, oomph, that's amazing. DC bar cases of public interest. Thank you so much. See the link. I'm going to pin that. See the link that oomph has kindly put into because this is the disbarments have been the only place where justice has been somewhat achieved, in that John Eastman lost, or I guess he's disbarred in California. Rudy Giuliani disbarred. I don't know if hey Teresa, do you recall if Cheesebro was actually disbarred, or was he? I can't remember. Jenna Ellis censured. Sidney Powell, I don't know if she's been up. Oh man, I'm losing it with all these lawyers. Last filing April 6th, Martin's motion for removal. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Oh, oomph, thank you so much. So yeah, these disbarment hearings across the country are very important because, number one, some of the evidence that these assholes think, supports whatever wackadoodle claim they're making, like election fraud or something like that. All of that evidence is able to be seen in public and put on the record. April 8th, wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna check and see what's happening. It's gonna take a minute for that stuff to kind of come to fruition, but yeah, they go slowly. But we will follow the Ed Martin. But I'm just saying, these disbarment hearings, the disciplinary hearings, I should call them. They're not disbarment hearings; they're disciplinary hearings. They can result in disbarment, et cetera, or some kind of censure. But the point is that during the process of those, we get to see them put on the spot to defend their bullshit theories and the disinformation. And it's one of the few places where we're able to really just focus on facts, right? Had the most amazing judge in the California disbarment hearing of John Eastman. I mean, you can't watch it because they delete it right after. But my God, just masterful at pulling that stuff apart. And it took a long time. So, but it's important. And I hope people are able to, cause Cheesebro was disbarred. Okay. Thank you so much. Teresa. But he's sitting, in Puerto Rico at his house. Remember, he wanted to go to Puerto Rico to his house. He asked the judge. Anyway. Good times. All right. Mr. Martin is accused of breaking several ethics rules for lawyers, violating his oath of office after swearing to support the Constitution. Well, that would be the biggest one. Conducting unauthorized ex parte communications with a judge and engaging in conduct that seriously interferes with the administration of justice. Can I just read that again? The man who is the U.S. pardon attorney is accused of violating his oath of office after swearing to support the Constitution, conducting an unauthorized ex parte, but this is the part that really got me, engaging in conduct that seriously interferes with the administration of justice. Have you ever The Justice Department in turn accused the DC Bar of political motivations in seeking to discipline Mr. Martin, accusing it of unevenly applying its standards. Oh no, I'd say they're pretty even. Emily Covington, a Justice Department spokeswoman, said the disciplinary body was seeking to target and punish those serving President Trump while refusing to investigate or act against actual ethical violations that were committed by Biden and Obama administration attorneys. Okay, is a clear indication of this partisan organization's agenda. That's bullshit. That's just plain up bullshit. That's plain up whataboutism that doesn't even exist, because you wouldn't go after the lawyers in the Biden and Obama administrations unless there were some clear acts that they did that were, against the law. Guess what? There weren't. Otherwise, these motherfuckers would have come up with it by now. For fuck's sake. Stop accepting what they say as if there's some false that there's some equivalence there. It's a false equivalence. And this is our government. This is our government saying that. The maximum sanction in such a case is disbarment, but it can take many years to reach a conclusion. Disciplinary proceedings against Jeffrey Clark. That's the one I forgot. The Justice Department official during the first Trump administration, who was accused of dishonest conduct in his efforts to undo the results of the 2020 election, have yet to be resolved. But in the Jeffrey Clark case, or in the disbarment hearings, the problem with that, hi Bob, how you doing? The problem with the Jeffrey Clark disbarment hearing is that they wouldn't allow anything that had to do with his taking the role of acting attorney general during that weekend, kind of mess where Gal could talk, and Teresa can talk about it better than I can, but basically that they would not allow any of that type of any information related to his I know I'm lost my patience, right, Bob? I don't even know. I still get outraged, but whatever. Hope that helps. But Jeffrey Clark's, they wouldn't allow a lot of information in about his fucking efforts to influence Trump, to threaten and bully the existing White House counsel. Oh, sorry. He wanted to be, was it? Why? I can't remember. Anyway, point is that Jeffrey Clark, there was a whole set of evidence of Jeffrey Clark being an asshole that wasn't allowed in that particular disbarment hearing. So the fact that it's not resolved, I think, is more so the fact that they couldn't even hear all the evidence. Yeah, I hope it helps. Yeah, hope it helps. I don't know what else to say. The disciplinary proceeding against Mr. Martin stems from an unusual letter he sent to Georgetown early in his brief tenure as the U.S. Attorney for Washington, which of course he was fired from because it was an illegal appointment. The letter, dated February, accused Georgetown of teaching and promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion. Mr. Martin did not define DEI or specify what ideas Georgetown law was teaching or promoting that the government deemed unacceptable, the filing said. Adding, without further explanation and before even receiving a response, Mr. Martin announced in his February 17th letter that he was imposing sanctions on Georgetown law, its students, or anyone affiliated with the school. Mr. Martin noted that his office would not offer any applicants from Georgetown internships, fellowships, or employment until the school responded. I'm going to read that again. Mr. Martin noted that his office would not offer any applicants from Georgetown internships, fellowships, or employment until the school responded to his letter about DEI that he didn't define. He just said, you're too DEI. Meh. Mr. Martin knew or should have known, as a government official, his conduct violated the First and Fifth Amendments of the Constitution of the United States, the disciplinary complaint said. A retired judge, Philip Argento, filed the initial ethics complaint against Mr. Martin, God bless you, Mr. Argento, over his letter to Georgetown, prompting a disciplinary inquiry that has led to formal accusations of misconduct, according to the filing. Boy, I sure hope that they're able to get some of Ed's background. Really. Instead of responding, the complaint states Mr. Martin contacted the chief judge and the senior judges of the District of Columbia Court of Appeals, complaining about the disciplinary lawyer's uneven behavior and requesting a face-to-face. Are you talking about my Phil Fox? He better not be talking about my man. If you're talking about my man, I'm going to be real mad because there's nothing uneven about Phil Fox. Okay? He is sardonic and adorable and smart. And I could listen to him for hours. I could Netflix and chill with that guy, okay? He also copied the White House counsel on the letter. Oh, wait, sorry. The chief judge in response that it would be told Mr. Martin that it would be improper to meet to discuss the issue and that any concern should be raised through regular disciplinary procedures. Instead, Mr. Martin asked the chief judge to immediately suspend the lawyer investigating. Oh my God. It would be okay. Wait. Instead, Mr. Martin asked the chief judge to immediately suspend the lawyer investigating him and dismiss the ethics case. How'd that work out for him? Anyway, he's still undergoing, but I will link an unlocked version of that article. Yikes. Yikes, Mikes. This I think this was Teresa that showed me this. Trump DOJ readies 1,000 election monitors for midterms. Wait, where's my other thing? Is this it? No, that's not it. Okay. And then I also, bye TV2. See you later, bro. Take care. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for stopping in. I sure appreciate you. Let's see. Where is it? Nope, that's not it. Darn it. Okay. Well, I'll show you some other things. Thank you. The plunging neckline. Do you love it? And plunging down to my soul. Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it. Hey, man, an old girl's got to do what an old girl's got to do. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Us hags have to really dress the part. You know what I'm saying? All right, this is Democracy Docket. I don't know how to get rid of this. Okay, there. Oh, Harmeet Dillon, as head of the Civil Rights Division, which is absolutely fucking hilarious. And I don't mean in a funny way. Okay, the Trump administration plans to deploy approximately 1,000 Department of Justice election monitors across the country in November, Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon said. In an interview on Bloomberg's Balance of Power, Dillon also said the Justice Department could take its failing campaign to obtain unredacted state voter rolls all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court if necessary. Yikes. What's the matter? Whatever she said on Monday. In an interview on Bloomberg's Balance of Power, Dillon also said the Justice Department could take its failing campaign. Oh, wait, sorry. I read that twice. I'm so sorry. Dillon's interview offered one of the clearest previews yet of how the Department of Civil Rights Division intends to approach the 2026 midterms. And guess what? It's not good. We began our election security work almost as soon as I was sworn in last April. I bet you started before, bitch. How about that? How about that, bitch? I bet you started before. This is an ongoing duty and obligation to fuck America. The United States Department of Justice Civil Rights Division has sent monitors to election hotspots, polling places to increase voter confidence, to troubleshoot problems, and we're doing that now. We just did it in the primary. We're going to do it to the tune of approximately 1,000 election monitors in the November election. And this is just something DOJ does. What? DOJ has not yet released its final list of jurisdictions. I would map them over the bomb threats from last election. That's what I would like to do. I would like to overlay a map of where these monitors might be with the 40 or so locations that received bomb threats in democratically heavy districts in 2024. How about that apple? How about them apples? How about that banana? Haberdashery. Okay. Dylan said the department is considering jurisdictions with potential language or disability access problems and places where DOJ believes there may be voter fraud. Ding, 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 ding. There you go. There's the magic words. There's the magic words. There'll be some prosecutions in the pipeline of people who voted illegally who should not have. And we see a problem, frankly, with some election officials. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Please believe them the first time they tell you what they're going to do. Please. Please. So you see, that's why when Ed Martin stood up there yesterday and said, hey, you can get your guns back, I was like, I'm sorry, but this looks a lot like getting J6ers to get their guns back before the November midterms or whatever the January transition is. Okay? Sorry. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that that's not out of the realm of possibilities. Okay, can we do that? Is that safe enough for everybody? Everybody feels safe with that statement? We see a problem, frankly, with some election officials refusing to clean up their voter rolls and knowingly allowing non-citizens, for example, to stay on the voter rolls. Furthermore, now they have Nick Shirley, who is the skinny Nick Sorter, who is the younger Cam Higbee. Nick Shirley is doing his thing again, where he dressed in a burqa and went to vote in Minnesota. They're going after Minnesota, trying to, claim that all the Muslim people in Minnesota are faking their votes and they're stuffing the voter rolls and wearing burqas and da-da-da-da-da. Wah, 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 wah. There is not enough fraud. There is not enough. And some local municipalities do allow people who are not yet citizens to vote because they are part of that community, whether or not you want that. Yeah, scam Pigby. Pig boy. Scam pig boy. Are they going to stop the certification with their guns? I don't know. Shirley is the dumb one. Cam is the pepper spraying one. That's right. And Nick Sorter is just fat. Nick Sorter wants to be either one of those guys, but he can't quite make it into either camp. Ridiculous. This is a federal crime, so we reminded people of that. But overall, the goal is not so much going after one voter here or there. Oh, girl, that's exactly your fucking goal. And your goal is to be able to have enough stupid little fake, problems with the election that the president can go, oh, I'm pulling down that election because I just can't. And we had too much fraud, so I'm going to pull down that. That's what they're trying to fucking do. They're trying to set it up so that anything that they find can be the disinformation that they use to further cause division. That's what they're doing. It was not immediately clear who will make up the approximately 1,000 person monitoring force. DOJ election monitors generally observe polling place procedures and assess compliance with federal voting laws. They do not administer elections, determine voter eligibility, or direct local officials. Civil Rights Division itself is far smaller than that 1,000 person figure, but DOJ could potentially draw personnel from U.S. attorneys' offices and other components of the Department for Election Monitoring. Bye. You good? All right. I love you. Bye, sweetheart. Be safe. But they were all at the White House Antifa roundtable. So assume they have super PACs and they're, oh yeah, totally. They're getting funded like shit, man. They're a sponsored little group, the Nick Shirleys and the Cam Higbees and the this and that and the others. They're all trying to, it's unfortunately they all look alike too, and that's kind of the problem. Like if they kind of distinguish themselves and looked a little different from each other, it might be more effective. But as it is, I just have to look 3 times and go, "Wait, which one is that?" I'm just kidding. Civil rights and Dylan's comments come as the department refuses to retreat from its sweeping voter roll campaign despite a steady stream of losses. 23-0. They've lost 23 times in court and won none trying to get voter rolls from states. Literally. I just read that. 23-0 or 0-23. No wins. Here we go. DOJ has lost all 23 district court cases in which judges have ruled on its effort to use Title III of the Civil Rights Act of 1960 to force states to provide their full statewide voter registration databases, including sensitive information such as driver's licenses and social security numbers. The Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals has also rejected DOJ's position, and on Friday, the full appeals court declined the department's request to rehear the case. Yeah, they produce content that gets laundered into congressional hearings. That's exactly what's happening. They're the citizen journalists, the digital soldiers. That's what this is. Mike Flynn should have been arrested. Arrest the planners. Dylan suggested the Supreme Court could be next because we're going to go ask Mom. This is an ongoing project, and there definitely have been courts that have not agreed with our efforts. So we're appealing some cases, Dylan said. We just got a ruling in the Sixth Circuit that had some very good language in the en banc from several very respected judges. And so you may see us making the next stop at the Supreme Court on that. Well, if the lawyers you send are as good as the ones that you sent to New York for the Katie Fang thing, you're going to lose. That's what they seem to be doing, setting up like young lawyers at the DOJ to actually go argue the cases that they know they can't win. How fucking weak is that? Her comments came after one day after Attorney General Turd Blanche similarly said Sunday that seeking Supreme Court review was a possibility. Yeah, that was a stupid interview too with Turd. Dylan also made sweeping claims Monday about what the DOJ says it has found in states that have cooperated with the department's voter roll efforts. We don't know the scale of the problem because there is no problem, because 2/3 of the states are refusing to cooperate with the Department of Justice's efforts to help them clean up their voter rolls. They don't need anything to clean up. That's all they have at DOJ. In the states that have cooperated with us, there are hundreds of thousands of dead people on the voter rolls, and there are tens of thousands of people who are not citizens on the voter rolls. Dylan didn't identify the states or provide any evidence supporting those figures during the interview. She also acknowledged that DOJ must conduct further verification before determining whether anyone actually voted illegally. Yeah, they didn't. They did. Otherwise, the 2024 election should be pulled down. How about that? Can we start there? How about that? Why don't we do that? Tyros and noobs with no institutional. Yeah. And it's showing they're losing. Like, can you imagine? Yeah, and conscripts, people forced into it. Here's the thing. Can you imagine? This is a DOJ. Our government, Department of Justice, cannot win a fucking case unless it goes to the Supreme Court and they rig the judge. That's literally where we're at. That's why Dylan's like, I don't care. We're just going to go to the Supreme Court. And then Clarence Thomas and John Roberts and those guys, they're going to be fine with it. This is a federal crime. Dylan went further, accusing some election officials of knowingly allowing non-citizens to remain registered. That's a federal crime. That's a federal crime. Wait till you see treason, bitch. That's a federal crime, too. Again, she did not identify which election official she was referring to or specify the federal criminal statute she believes they violated. Oh, did just see a conviction by such a noob in a DC court? You did, but it was touch and go for a while. I mean, I'm not saying that they've lost every case. They've certainly won some cases, but the preponderance of these higher profile cases, they have lost. I mean, so I don't know. It just seems, I don't recall a time when the DOJ was this inept right? They usually won a lot of their cases. I'm not saying I always agreed with it, but I'm just saying that's the way it is. Let's see if this has any extra info. Yeah. Na, 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 na. Whoa, 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 whoa. Do 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 do. Oh, I'm going to include this. I'm not going to read it, but this is the Campaign Legal Center. I think it's just a nonprofit kind of think tank around whatever. Resources on Department of Justice election monitors. This one was issued August 5th, and it talks about the announcement that we just talked about, the Harmeet Dillon, about the election monitors. But then it goes into state-specific resources on DOJ monitors. And I just wanted to see what it is they are. Campaign Legal Center provides this one-page guidance to partners and state and local election officials to help better understand the DOJ's election monitoring program and the legal limitations on DOJ monitors who are present at polling places and other locations where the election administration takes place. I will download the document. Let me read this. Okay, so it talks about her announcement in July. She announced it would send DOJ attorneys to monitor upcoming primary elections in certain localities in Arizona, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, New Hampshire, and Virginia. So that's the first I've heard about that. But I knew they were doing something in Minnesota. They think they used to charge cases knowledgeable staff anticipated obtaining. Yeah, exactly, right? Like it was like a typical prosecutor's office where they would, have a case or they wouldn't bring it. I mean, I'm not saying the justice system is like that kind of fair, but I'm just saying that was the presumption. There is no knowledgeable staff who are not cult members, which appears to affect judgment. Yeah, it certainly does seem to, doesn't it? Okay, so here we go. This is what the Campaign Legal Center is sending or offering to states about the DOJ monitoring and what to know. So how does the election monitor program work? The DOJ monitors must comply with state laws, typically remain outside a polling place, are tasked with observing, documenting, and reporting on compliance, should notify local officials before appearing at a polling location and identify themselves as DOJ employees, may talk with voters who are leaving the polling place after they voted. So that's what they must not behave in a way that intimidates voters, anyone assisting a voter, stop a voter heading into a polling place to check their identity, engage in any political activity, including wearing campaign attire or displaying campaign signage, attempt to enforce federal or state law to intervene to stop perceived violations, remain inside a polling place after election officials and workers ask them to leave, direct or order election officials and poll workers to take any action, attempt to interfere with the administration, operations, or activities of a polling place or tabulation or certification facility due to its perceived noncompliance with federal law, appear at a polling place other than or other election administration facility without notice. So they have a hotline that you can call if you see any bad activity. So I'll include this as well. Oh my God, oh my soul, there goes Mary down the hole. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, and then I have the Justice Department announcement about Minnesota, done from August 11th. Let me just see if there's a piece of in here that is want. This monitoring initiative is aimed at promoting transparency and an open flow of communication between poll observers and election monitors. The Civil Rights Division voting section enforces various federal statutes that protect the right to vote, including the Voting Rights Act, National Voter Registration Act. From now through the general election on November 3rd, Civil Rights Division personnel will be available to receive questions, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I'll include that too. But that's the DOJ's actual press release on it. Oops, I did it again. Save democracy. Pick a fight with one after you vote. There you go. That's right. Pick a fight. That's it. One observer at a time. All right. Now, switching gears, going into the corruption that is surrounding us on a daily basis and continuing to plague our democracy. I just wanted to update us on something we've been following, which is the World Liberty Financial, maelstrom that we're sinking in. If you know, you know. So this one came from Mother Jones on August 15th. And Trump's crypto project just got one step closer to becoming a bank. We talked about them becoming a bank. This is like, I can't remember who I saw talking about this, but it was basically that they're just going to have their own money ecosystem. And that's really what these guys are trying to create, is an ecosystem outside of the touch of regulators. Okay? That's literally what we're moving towards. They're going to eliminate all of the fucking regulations that protect anybody from financial shit. Okay? I think I'm speaking to the choir. So okay. A regulatory charter for World Liberty Financial could be the most brazen act of self-dealing our system has ever seen. Really? Because I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of beers being held, Sophie, but yeah. Mrs. Beasley. Haven't heard him in a minute, which I'm very happy about. Federal regulators have given President Dump's family crypto business a conditional approval to operate like a bank where money laundering will not be detected. That's right. I saw this guy on TikTok, and I don't know if this is true, but he was really funny. And he was like, yeah, I heard that shell companies are, going to be not monitored, and that they're, destroying all the existing shell company stuff. And he said, I don't think you should set yourself up as a shell company, an LLC. I don't think you should put all your assets in your own LLC. Like basically saying, if these are the rules, then go play by the rules and start protecting protecting yourself. So now I feel like we're going to get all these millions of shell companies for all these, all of us individuals. Hey man, if we have to play by those rules, I guess that's the rules we have to play by. All right. Anyway, led by Trump appointee Jonathan Gould. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. On Friday, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, that is our Comptroller of the Currency, appointed by the president, but still a government employee, led by Trump appointee Jonathan Gould, who is a minuscule little mouse man, announced that World Liberty Financial, a crypto venture controlled by the Trump family and embroiled in lawsuits and scams and rug pulls and all kinds of other shit, was on track to receive a banking charter. This will allow World Liberty Financial to issue its stablecoin tokens called USD1 inside the United States without an intermediary. Hey, did y'all hear of Trump University? I don't know. Did you hear about that? Have you heard of that? This is Trump University times millions. That's all I'm going to say. The decision stands to give new powers and federal credibility to a venture in which Trump and his family retain a substantial financial interest, Politico's Michael Stratford and Declan Harry put it. It's also among the most direct official actions that the administration has taken involving the president's personal or private finances. Nobody cares, apparently. Oh, Zach Witkoff. Oh, shocker. Son of Dump's special diplomatic envoy, Steve Witkoff, another real estate guy and co-founder of World Liberty Financial, applauded the decision on social media. Our ambition is clear: to build the most trusted and widely used digital dollar in the world while strengthening the role of the US dollar across the global economy. Wasn't he just talking about the dollar being like, fuck the dollar kind of thing? I don't know. The move certainly seems likely to strengthen the pocketbooks of the president and his family. As my colleague Russ Choma reported, Dump made $65 million in 2025 by selling shares in World Liberty Financial. According to financial disclosures, Dump also made about $600 million selling stable coins and other digital assets through World Liberty Financial this year. Democratic lawmakers are pointing to the regulatory green light as an example of Trump's corruption. On Friday, the Office of Comptroller of the Currency announced the move. Elizabeth Warren wrote on social media that this is the most brazen act of self-dealing our system has ever seen. And that's saying something. So, yeah, the boys are getting their bank. Hey, Dad, can we have a bank? Can we have a bank, Dad? Can we have a bank? want a bank. Speaking of banks, just a little headline: Trump crypto firm backs venture offering AI from restricted Chinese companies. Yep, this is August 17th, baby. This ain't just a minute. Okay, let me play this because I want to hear what he says. Hold on. Oh, stop, sir. Stop.
A series of promotional posts.
Sorry.
In May, I noticed a series of promotional posts on social media by World Liberty Financial, Eric Trump, Donald Trump Jr. about a venture I'd never heard of called WorldClaw. The brothers were promoting this new venture, which offered AI from many Chinese technology companies. And so I started to dig in to understand what was WorldClaw, where was it from, what exactly were they offering. What surprised me is that right out in the open, WorldClaw was working with a whole suite of Chinese AI models. It was interesting to me and surprising that the Trump administration, which has been so vocal about countering the threat of Chinese AI,
yes,
that the Trump family, in tension with that idea, would be willing to have a business partner that was actively using and promoting these same AI tools from companies that the administration had flagged. The White House said in a statement to Reuters that President Trump only acts in the best interest of the American people and that there are no conflicts of interest. The World Liberty statement about this matter basically said it's common to use a whole range of models, including those from large U.S. companies like OpenAI and Anthropic, to often cheaper models from China. But it's clear that this is a very live conversation, both internally inside corporate America and also the Trump administration about how to deal.
Okay. All right. Nearly half of WorldClaw's AI models come from companies flagged for ties to Chinese military tech theft. WorldClaw accepts World Liberty's crypto tokens as payment. Dump family owns 38% of World Liberty, and they serve as advisors to WorldClaw. President Donald Trump-backed World Liberty Financial is collaborating with a Hong Kong-based venture offering artificial intelligence models developed by Chinese companies. The U.S. administration has flagged for national security concerns. WorldClaw, founded earlier this year, oh, that's not a red flag right there, offers customers access to a suite of AI models and accepts World Liberty's blah, 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 blah. We read that. Anyway, so again, keeping track. To the point Teresa made, Trump crypto took $100 million from a businessman with red flags. This is Guren Bobby Zhu with Zach Witkoff in a private suite at the World Club at the final match in New Jersey. The curious case of Guren Bobby Zhu shows the case of investors, shows the ease with which investors with shady backgrounds and unknown motivations can funnel money to the president. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I will link a gift article for this in the description of the video. So if you want to read the whole thing, definitely. You didn't see that video? I just put the article and put in Signal. Oh, okay. During the World Cup final in New Jersey last month, Zach Witkoff, co-founder of President Dump's cryptocurrency company, yes, that Zach Witkoff, took in action from a luxury suite. Joining him was a man who had made the president and all the company's co-founders much richer. 2 years earlier, the man, Guren Bobby Zhu, was a failed hardwood flooring retailer in Britain who had come under investigation there for money laundering and presided over the collapse of a small crypto startup. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, he became one of the biggest buyers of tokens from Mr. Dump's company, World Liberty Financial. Has he talked to Justin Sun? I mean, I don't know. They talk. They might want to hook up. We're dropping a total of $100 million through a new firm called Aqua One. He kept quiet about it for months, other than speaking briefly as Mr. Bobby from Aqua One during a little noticed audio stream on X. We're very proud to be a major player in the World Liberty, which is Trump's family crypto venture, he said. Oh, okay. Under World Liberty policy, as much as $75 million of that money was distributed to a company controlled by the president and his three sons. The money also benefited the family of Steve Witkoff, the Trump administration's special peace envoy, real estate dude, and father of Zach. So again, I'll go ahead and link this, and I can't wait to read the whole thing. I haven't read this, but I did hear about the jus from Teresa. So, and finally, in corruption corner, anything with liberty is advancing some Orwellian authoritarian agenda. This is exactly right. This is exactly right, Max. All right. This is about the Lakers sale, and I am a Warriors fan from being a child. Okay. I'm a Bay Area born and bred. And so I hate the Lakers. I hate the Dodgers. I hate whoever else is an LA team. Sorry. I love LA. I love it with all my heart. And I'll do anything for it, but I don't like their teams. I'm a Bay Area girl. That's just it. All right. Warriors, Giants, maybe A's sometimes. And Niners. Okay. That's it. So fuck everybody else. All right. But this was interesting. And I posted about this yesterday. The Lakers sale in a federal probe put Mark Walter in a spotlight. He never saw it. Oh, a poor billionaire. The baby billionaire.
I'm sad. I'm sad. I'm a sad billionaire. Well, maybe I'm okay and maybe I'm happy. Anyways.
All right. I'll read this too and share the article, obviously. Mark Walter stood next to Donald Trump with his hands clasped and his eyes focused on the president, who spoke to a crowd about the power of the Oval Office and the most important people in the world who visited. Walter, 66, was among those visitors. So were members of the Los Angeles Dodgers, the MLB juggernaut that Walter has owned since 2012. The team was attending a ceremony in July at the White House to celebrate its 2025 World Series victory, marking the Dodgers' second consecutive championship and third in 6 seasons, whatever. During his speech, Trump hailed the Dodgers as winners and mentioned the late New York Yankees owner, George Steinbrenner, whom he called a friend. He would do anything to win. Yeah. But you're doing the same thing. It's amazing, Mark, Trump said. Walter made a brief speech in which he thanked the president, later presented him with an engraved World Series ring and a jersey with Trump 47 on the back. The event gave the public a rare look at a billionaire who has maintained a low profile for years despite running a sprawling business empire that includes some of the most famous franchises in sports. But last week, Walter found himself in the headlines not for any team he owned, but rather for one he sold, the NBA's Los Angeles Lakers. Just 14 months after agreeing to buy the iconic franchise, Walter agreed to sell the Lakers. What? To former Disney CEO Bob Iger and Thrive Capital founder Joshua Kushner, the younger brother of Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner. Are you seeing a theme? Oh, it gets better. The stunning deal reportedly valued the Lakers at $12.5 billion. $2.5 billion more than when Walter agreed to purchase the team, 14 months before? The timing of the sale, this is even better. The timing of the sale has raised eyebrows, not just for the brevity of his tenure as owner. Federal investigators are investigating insurance companies he owns. Walter is in trouble, has some problems with the federal government and some insurance companies that maybe he doesn't want the federal government to look at so much. So he all of a sudden agrees to sell a team for over market value to a member of the administration's family, extended family. Hello? What the fuck? Justin's son gets a pardon for giving $85 million to World Liberty Financial. Oh, the investigations were going to launch. Holy motherfucker Christ. Walter didn't respond to messages seeking comment, and federal officials said no. Walter's appearance at the White House put the owner in the public eye. The Lakers sale has now put his business empire there too. Good luck, bitch. Long before Walter became a sports mogul, he built his fortune in finance. An Iowa native, Walter attended Creighton for his undergraduate degree in business and earned his law degree from Northwestern. Beginning in the 1990s in Chicago, he co-founded multiple financing and investment firms and now serves as CEO of both the Guggenheim Partners and TWG Global, a holding company with investments across industries, including sports, entertainment, technology, and artificial intelligence. What does ETTD mean? I never can remember what that means. The Bloomberg Billionaire Index estimates Walter's net worth at $18.3 billion. $18.3 billion. Do you understand that Walter could literally solve the water crisis in Puerto Rico that we talked about yesterday? Walter could take $1 billion and invest it in Puerto Rico's infrastructure, and it would at least set them up for the next, 20 years. I don't even know. Literally, if billionaires wanted to make the world a better place, they could. They don't. The Bloomberg, okay, blah, 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 blah. His sports portfolio includes the Premier League's Chelsea Football Club, the WNBA's Los Angeles Sparks, the Professional Women's Hockey League, Cadillac F1, and the Billie Jean King Cup, in addition to the Dodgers, and until last week, the Lakers. But as he accumulated such enormous wealth, he kept an unassuming public profile. His hometown paper in Cedar Rapids wrote in 2012 that many in Walter's high school class of 1978 had no idea what he was up to until the news broke that he had purchased the Dodgers. Unlike some of the NBA's more flashy team owners, Walter was an understated figure during his occasional courtside appearance, favoring jeans and sneakers. Well, how does he feel about orange jumpsuits? Does he look good in orange? I'm just wondering. Yeah. Recently, though, he's found himself receiving unwelcome attention. Oh, your baby. Bloomberg and the Financial Times reported that the Federal Bureau of Investigation seized Walter's phone and laptop last year. A spokesperson for the FBI declined to comment. It's only because they wanted him to sell the company to Josh Kushner. Two of Walter's companies, Delaware Life Insurance Company and its affiliate ClearSpring Life and Annuity, received grand jury subpoenas in February as part of an investigation by the U.S. attorneys for the Southern District of New York. That's why. The company acknowledged in a March regulatory filing. A parallel investigation is underway by the Securities and Exchange Commission A parallel investigation is underway by the SEC. The filing noted. The U.S. Attorney's Office and SEC declined to comment. Life insurers typically invest in relatively safe and low-risk assets to provide predictable returns, and insurers are required to report transactions with affiliated businesses to regulators as a safeguard to protect policyholders and guard against conflicts of interest. Delaware Life said investigators are examining whether investments tied to affiliated businesses had been improperly reported as unaffiliated. The company said through its subsequent internal investigation, it had identified errors. Those boo-boos. It's the great boo-boos of 2025. How related business investments were presented in the company's 2025 annual statement. In all, the filing showed Delaware Life revised its disclosures to identify nearly $17 billion more in investments tied to related businesses, increasing its share of the company's portfolio from about 3% to 42%. Wah, 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 wah. Yeah, electronic transfer service at Toronto Dominion. Ethical Tubers Tater Division. IIRCD, if I recall correctly, something. He bought Chelsea from a disgraced Russian mobster. Oh, extra tambourines. Top drum. I love my tambourine. I don't have a tambourine. I'm just kidding. Okay, yeah, okay. Well, one of the investments appears to be caught in the reclassified dealings was a $4.1 million loan to Dodger Tickets LLC, shell company, a subsidiary tied to the Dodgers and involved with ticketing and other business operations. Delaware Life listed that loan as unaffiliated in its 2025 annual statement. Oh, they must have missed the Dodger name. Okay, now I get it. Delaware Life listed that loan as unaffiliated. Oh, in the March filing, the same investment was listed as affiliated. Dodgers president and CEO Stan Kasten was listed as CEO of Dodger Tickets LLC on an April 2025 business filing with California's Secretary of State. Kasten declined to comment. As a result of the revised investments, S&P S&P, Standard & Poor's Global Ratings, last month changed its outlook for Delaware Life from stable to negative. S&P at the time also affirmed its A- financial strength rating for the company. Well, I mean, money laundering is very profitable. Group 1001, I'm just kidding. I don't know. Group 1001, the Walter-controlled holding company that owns Delaware Life and Clear Spring Life, said last month in a statement to the... This sounds like Enron. Doesn't it sound like Enron a little bit? Like a mini Enron? I don't know. We're cooperating fully with the U.S. Attorney's Office and SEC investigations, and its policy was not to comment. Group 1001 said it also plans to reduce and restructure certain of the investments at issue in response to the errors, though it didn't specify which investments. Our capital position and liquidity remain strong, and our financials, everything's fine. Everything is fine. Why are you worried? The probes related to Walter's insurance companies are not the first time his business dealings have faced federal scrutiny. Most recently, Guggenheim agreed in 2024 to pay the SEC $15 million over widespread and longstanding record-keeping violations involving employees' off-channel communications. What the hell does that mean? Those record-keeping rules are designed to protect investors and allow the SEC to ensure security laws, including anti-fraud provisions, are followed. This is funny because the SEC is like completely pathetic right now. The commission staff I know this is, I think this is dropped actually. Isn't it dropped? Or it's going to be dropped. The investigation determined that nearly all broker deal investment advisor personnel sampled had engaged in at least some level of off-channel communications. I don't know what that really means. Walter led a consortium that purchased the Dodgers in 2012, included Magic Johnson, Todd Bailey, and Kasten as minority partners. At the time, Walter was a Chicago Cubs season ticket holder, according to the Chicago Tribune. He told the paper he signed on to the deal to buy the Dodgers because you don't get two chances to buy the Dodgers. He added, I just saw it as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Well, I hope it works for you, babe. He told the LA Times that he viewed the purchase as a legacy. Oh, it's a legacy, all right. If that's what you want to call it. It's a multi-general thing that my daughter's granddaughters will own. Well, unless are they going to marry Josh Kushner? Isn't he married to model? Isn't Josh Kushner married to like Carly Kloss or someone? I really think he is. He's married to some like supermodel. Kasten, a longtime sports executive, praised Walter's leadership style. Well, I hope his leadership style gets him the fuck out of this problem. According to Kasten, when the two partnered for their Dodgers bid, Walter told him, look, Stan, I'm a baseball fan and I have a lot of opinions and you're going to hear all of them and you are to disregard all of them because if I was making these decisions, I didn't need you. Kasten said Walter has given executives latitude over time, including encouragement to flex the organization's financial muscle, resulting in eye-popping free agent signings and investment in scouting and player development. Not anymore. Since 2024, Dodgers have topped all MLB teams in luxury tax payrolls and signed mega deals with players such as Shohei Ohtani, Kyle Tucker, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and structuring some of those contracts with significant deferred payments. In August, the Dodgers surprised the baseball world by landing coveted pitcher Tariq Skubal in a blockbuster trade with the Detroit Tigers. Mark has continued to remind us of the value of spending a little more, blah, blah, blah. Kasten said he wasn't aware of Walter's plan to sell the Lakers, and the understanding was that the deal came together quickly. The deal came together quickly. Oh, he bought Chelsea from Abramovich. That's true. Oh, shit. I remember that. I remember Abramovich owned the fucking Chelsea team. Oh, I can't wait to see the tape. Kasten maintained that the sale of the Lakers isn't related to the Dodgers or changes are not coming to the organization. We don't have visibility into every other company he owns or company, whatever. All right. 2 years after Walter bought the Dodgers, he made a play for the NBA. Okay, so this is just his history of buying teams. I'll go ahead and include this unlocked article as well. For you and me. I'm going to link this, but I'm not going to play it because it's like a half an hour. But I'm really fascinated by this guy. He's an author, and he wrote Darren Asimoglu. I don't know about him, so I should probably do some more, do some more checking. But he just wrote a book, and I actually bought the book. I want to read it, and it's about the end of liberalism. What happened to liberal democracy is the name of his book, and I'll link that as well from a local bookstore. Buy it from a local, and Shards of Glass. Yeah, but he did this interview with Bloomberg. Now, Bloomberg is a fucking capitalist pigs, right? Like they're totally capitalist pigs. However, I will say I watch Bloomberg's YouTube channels a lot because they do some very interesting interviews with people who are somewhat, I don't know, who just are in the news and kind of interesting. So I do actually recommend watching Bloomberg. I know I wouldn't normally do that, but their podcast, their news, their 24-hour, kind of station, they have some pretty good insights. And, some of it's kind of probably Ajemolu. Okay. Ajemolu. Okay. So I guess, you know what? Fuck it, man. Should I play this? Should I play this? I'm going to. All right. Now realize that I don't absolutely know what this guy is all about. So forgive me if it ends up being pear-shaped, but I just want to see what he's talking about the end of liberal democracy and what that means. It's about a half an hour, so we'll see how we go.
You're the first person that my daughter, who's now 23, studied economics. I've been doing this for years. When I mentioned that I was reading your book and talking, she was starstruck. And she said from freshman year, she has been reading your research, citing it, citations in all of the work she's doing. And she said, can you please get his autograph? So we are delighted to have you with us.
You've never said anything, truly, I've never heard you say anything like that in the 6 years we've been doing this together.
No,
so this is big.
With this introduction, I'll come every week.
And I apologize for kind of rushing and stumbling through, but we are delighted.
Thank you. So am I.
You've sparked a conversation for us, which is, I think, part of it. But let's get to, why did you write this book? You write a lot, you do a lot of research. Why this book?
Because I think liberal democracy is one of the greatest achievements we've had. From our ape beginnings and lives in very unequal circumstances, in very uncertain existence mired by violence, today we live in very complex societies, open to ideas with lots of individual freedom. People participate in politics peacefully, reach compromise, sometimes consensus. And moreover, we get lots of things from the government, including our ability to express our voice. That is an amazing achievement. And we are, I think, at the cusp of losing it. Liberal democracy, which still, in my mind, is the best framework, definitely something we very much need for the future, is in crisis. After decades and decades of actually serving us quite well. So we have to understand that crisis, and we have to rebuild liberal democracy unless we want to risk losing it.
We're going to talk about how you think we can rebuild it, but I want to just get some parameters set here and do some definitions, because early on in your book, you talk about the definition of liberalism and how it means different things to different people depending on where you live, the European view versus the American view. Just straighten that out for us right now before we dive into this conversation.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. And that's very important. Liberalism has had many meanings over the ages, and today it's a big tent. But at the core of it is a commitment to protect individual liberties, also protect the weaker members of society, and also a commitment to progress from which we all benefit. Those are the defining features of liberal ideas, and they have acted as a rallying cry for people to build a better society. And the way that I define it, liberal democracy, is the institutionalization of these ideas. It's carrying them to the actual practice of our lives. And it's been brilliantly successful in the grand scheme of things. We've had decades of very rapid growth under liberal democracy. For the about 4 decades following World War II, those were not just high growth periods, but they were periods in which inequality was remaining stable or sometimes even declining. Every demographic group, men, women, by race, different education groups, they saw their earnings grow very rapidly. And, you know, always political disagreements were very important, but generally peacefully. Today, if you look at the picture, it's very different. Shared prosperity doesn't work anymore. Inequality has increased a lot, but worse, in the United States, we've seen about half of the population without a college degree experience stagnant or declining wages for about 4 decades, while productivity increased, while people with college degrees, postgraduate degrees, improve their living standards significantly. And when you ask Americans, they have such negative views of democratic institutions. Their trust in Congress, in the Supreme Court, and the presidency is at an all-time low. The country is polarized, and very concerningly, all Americans, but especially the young, are much less willing to say that democracy is the best form of government, and they're willing to experiment with different ideas.
Jerome, were we destined to come here? I think people point fingers at a particular president or political figure, but were we destined to be here?
I wouldn't say we're destined to be here, but I would also not blame it on a particular president or particular set of choices that are U.S. specific, because you see very similar trends across many advanced nations and even in the emerging world. So there are some commonalities there. So that's very important to get the diagnosis right so that we know how to deal with it.
You actually make the point early on. I mean, this is the way your book begins. And Carol and I...
That's a good point, that, you know, democracies all over the world are struggling with, you know, xenophobia, transphobia, just a lot of causing division and disinformation and all of that. That's Bloomberg, baby. Money. But yeah, so I think that's an interesting point, that, you know, it isn't just a US specific issue that liberal democracy is under threat. It's actually happening in other, you know, countries that have had that or have been operating under that.
We're both struck by this because we hear a lot about Viktor Orban now and the figure that he is in Hungary. But you make the point that, look, this is somebody who in the late 80s, early 90s was a very different leader and represented something very different, not just for that country, but for Europe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it is sort of telling of the arc of liberalism that he was the poster child for, you know, liberty, for building democratic institutions. And then he turned his back on all of these ideas. You know, the exact circumstances in Hungary, of course, are different. Post-transition societies had a lot of trouble. Many of them navigated them better than Hungary. But I think the issues that we see in the United States have commonalities with Hungary, but they have a lot of commonalities with what's going on in the UK, in France, in Germany, in the rest of Europe.
Is there anywhere where this is not happening right now that you would hold up in 2026 as an ideal liberal democracy? Ideal,
absolutely not. And I don't think, if you ask me what is an ideal liberal democracy going back, no, there isn't. Liberalism is always an aspiring ideology, and liberal democracy is always a work in progress. But today, you see different degrees of crisis. And one place where I would say the crisis is also showing up in some ways, but in a less severe form, is Switzerland. And one of the things about Switzerland is that it's much more participatory. And you also see even today in this polarized world that we live in, where people shout at each other, social media has really created a very toxic ecosystem of exchange. You have recently experienced an amazing achievement in Ireland in the context of the decision on the referendum, which was based on citizens' assemblies, building consensus, changing people's minds, debating it for a long time, and then putting it to vote for the people, where people actually said, this is what we want in 2 different referendums. So there are ways in which we can make this work even today, but there is a challenge.
There are challenges, and Tim and I both listened to some different podcasts. There's one you did with, I think, James Sanger of Harvard that was really, I said, what was wonderful is it was a dialogue, which is so refreshing. We talk about just even in our world that people don't debate anymore. It's one view comes on. And when I started doing journalism, you couldn't present one voice without having the other voice, especially on a topic. And it's interesting to see how things have changed.
What do you think you
the sense of
attribute that?
community, though, how important.
Jenny, what would you attribute that to? I realize that what we're not doing in this interview is talking about the conditions that we're under right now. I don't know if he's going to get to that, but I find that kind of interesting. We're talking about it as if it were a scientific experiment, you know, and it's actually quite, I don't know. So anyway, very interesting.
That is, and you know, I think it might have been with Mr. Sanger, this concept of people, or maybe like living different worlds, completely separate worlds.
Absolutely.
And that's a problem.
It's a big problem, but let's go back to community, because thank you for bringing it up, Carol. Community was quite important for liberal aspirations going back several hundred years. And when you look at early liberal democracy, communities played a very important role. One of the very bedrock ideas of liberal democracy is that there should be self-government. People, it's not just that you should be free to have thoughts, that you should also be free to put them into practice. That means that to have some control over your life. And it's not enough, or it's not even meaningful to say, oh, you can achieve that by going to the polls once every 4 years or 5 years and have a vote. No, that starts with local associations, what de Tocqueville saw in the United States more than 250 years ago, and he thought that was just so remarkable. It starts with local governments, where people participate. It starts with other organizations like labor unions that were a very important way for many working people to participate in self-government. And all of these, you see, they start at the community level. But there's something else, and then you actually put your finger on that, Carol, which is that when we have a debate, I think the best way of ensuring that we're not just talking past each other or we're not shouting at each other is that we have some shared values, shared moral understanding,
that, Max?
Shared principles.
Shared fact.
And that again comes from communities and then emanates from communities to the national level. So all of these are very important, but liberal democracy over the last several decades has also turned its back on communities. Communities has become more segregated. There has been a deeper division in the United States between, say, not just Republican and Democrat, but between more educated and less educated segments. Their values have diverged. Their networks have diverged. And everything that was a bit of like a melting pot is no longer. One very important one that we actually often overlook is where people work. The sort of course I'm exaggerating, but the typical firm of the industrial age was like a manufacturing plant where you had managers, you had consultants, you had engineers, you had white-collar workers, blue-collar workers, custodial workers. So it was a real melting pot. Today, the image that you might have in your mind is Google on the one hand and McDonald's on the other. And it's a complete divide in terms of not just income, education, and background and who works there. And so we're not getting that melting that will bring those shared principles together on which we can then build something better.
Yeah, agreed. Like I just think about growing up and like the local shopkeepers and just we all were kind of running in each other, or a religious organization, and meant all different types of people. I know we've got a question coming.
Yeah, this is actually a perfect question for a segue that we wanted to get to, and it has to do with technology and your view of technology. We opened this conversation up to our viewers and listeners.
Fantastic.
And we got a great question from Colin joining us from Atlanta. Colin writes in, could digital connectivity allow a more direct democracy? Would moving slightly away from representative democracy and to direct democracy help alleviate concerns from those who are losing faith? So two different questions there. I wanted to start with the technology one because you have some really interesting views about technology's role in actually moving us away from liberal democracy. What do you think?
Well, I mean, let me just say that technology plays a central role in the book in several parts, but centrally in understanding how we transition from an industrial economy to a post-industrial economy. So the Google McDonald's is just a symptom of something much broader about how the economy is organized. And that was a technological transition. Partly globalization played a role as well. But second, algorithms are so much more important today. They, in some domains, actually rule our lives. So we have to come to grips with the information ecosystem, communication ecosystem created by algorithms. Now, in both.
See, this is a really, I mean, obviously it's a great point, but this is very interesting about really talking about how the algorithms and hence the disinformation shape people's views, reinforce their, their worst views, all of those things. Good morning, Paul. How are you, darling? So that, I love that. What is it? An information ecosystem. I think that is really an interesting concept and something that isn't as talked about as it could be. I know that there's cases about, restricting Meta and all those things that are happening in the real world, but it's also interesting to really point out that algorithms have supported disinformation, have reinforced views, have activated people, Q movement, all of that. So that's a very fascinating. I agree with that. Ecosystem is really a great word to use around that communication.
How digital technologies influence shared prosperity and how algorithms influence our communication. I don't think there is anything predetermined. Technology doesn't come with a pre-programmed thing that says, I'm going to create inequality, I'm going to destroy communication. It's how we use technology, how we define technology, how we develop it. And on social media, I think it's very telling to go back to how people were viewing it in the late 1990s, early 2000s. Everybody thought, almost everybody thought that this was going to democratize communication.
The Arab Spring.
The Arab Spring was Facebook and Twitter in some places.
Pretty remarkable.
The new wikis were going to make information available. And those hopes, okay, they turned out to be not right.
Yeah.
We can agree on that. But they weren't completely naive. The reason why they weren't naive is because technology had that capability. We could have built new communities for reliable information, to create new compromises, to find new bridging ways in which we can bring ourselves together.
Right.
But it turned out that the key decisions that many companies made were not about that. MySpace, for example, one of the first social media sites, is a bit closer to that because it brought communities together.
Shout out to Tom at MySpace.
Right. Okay, fantastic, yes. But algorithmic feeds that essentially amplified the most incendiary material, the one that gets views because it's extreme, that angers the other side and motivates your side to become even more vocal. Those are the kinds of things that rise up in the algorithmic feed. And on another part, they are the things that create envy and undergird mental health problems. Yeah. But all of them, what they also do? They take their attention towards social media communication. And as a result, Americans interact much less physically with other people. They have fewer friends, fewer close friends. They spend much less time going to bars, coffee shops.
Nobody calls anybody anymore.
It's amazing. And that is very important because the social networks that we form are messy.
Yeah.
They teach us to make compromises, and they give us a lot of rich contextual information about our lives.
Do you blame the tech CEOs who run those companies?
Oh, we might as well. Why not?
Well, because it is an interesting time where you are seeing lawsuits against social media companies, Meta platforms. We keep referencing this in their latest earnings. I think it was $2 billion for certain lawsuits, and they said it was a material impact on the company. And it's just the beginning of lawsuits from our reporting.
So what she just said there is that in their latest earnings report, just want to make sure it doesn't get lost in the shuffle, that Meta reported the $2 billion in legal costs as relevant to and had an impact on their profits. So that, I think, is a very interesting place we find ourselves.
Team. But I do wonder, what is their responsibility? And this goes to, you get into this too, like the people who run these firms, and they're very wealthy and very influential. And I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. And we talk about having a seat at the table, the political table. We don't. It's people with deeper pockets.
Well, you are very influential, Carol and Tim. But
thank you. No,
we do have microphones.
Actually, you are very influential. But anyway, but like all of this.
of course, we all have responsibility.
There you go.
We all have responsibility. And you know what? Let's take one step back. If democracy is in crisis,
Yes, and
we are all responsible, because democracy requires active, vigilant, participating citizens.
Why aren't people more active?
I think we took some of these things for granted.
Okay.
We've gone down the path of sort of easy sort of life, and some of what democratic citizenship requires is messy. Some of the things that we should do in our communities are costly. Like, for example, giving blood. You know, you get very little benefit from that other than the pride that you're contributing to something. And people used to do that much more, and they do that much less. That's just a symbolic thing that shows that if you don't create the right narrative, the right sort of way of drawing on our responsibilities, people are going to start withdrawing a little bit, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and then the result is we're not participating in communities, and we're not participating to defend democracy.
But I can't help but think of the changing view that Americans have about democracy in recent years. And I think back to the Democratic National Convention in 2024 and the core message from Democrats. And it was, I'll never forget this. I was watching this on TV.
Let me just say, Meowing Star, I agree with you. And yet I think these concepts that he's talking about are also important. I think it is absolutely true that people who are really in the world, it isn't just that social media is influencing the way they're, the way they're interacting. But I would say a yes and the pressure to actually produce and to keep your rent paid and your family fed and everything else. That, of course, is another factor that keeps you from socializing. So I want to acknowledge that I think both things, like what he's talking about is resonating with me just as as kind of a kind of meta level look at what are the pressures on and how does social media contribute to that. So I would say a yes and for what you're bringing up, because I absolutely understand what you're talking about. And the safety, the lack of safe spaces, all those things are coming to fruition. I also think a lot of that is driven by this regime and making those types of views somewhat publicly acceptable only because the fucking guy at the top is the one spouting them. And again, it all goes back to disinformation and that they influence operations that have worked in this country to get us to this point. Oh, thank you. MIT. Oh, okay. Okay, but thank you for that, because I appreciate that view as well, and that I think you're absolutely spot on that people are also exhausted and trying to and COVID, right? When we lock down, it fucked with a lot of people's heads too, mine included, right? So there's a ton of things that influence where we are today. And I think it's just, I don't know, I think it's really interesting. But thank you for that. I really appreciate your perspective.
I watched the Republican one as well. But they played this video that was basically a highlight reel of January 6th.
Well,
and it was,
but his whole book, he's talking about his work, and his work is talking about the impact of social media. He's talked about a lot of things, Meowing Star, not just social media. So I don't know if you didn't come in early, but of course, all of that, the destruction of affordability. I don't think he's denying that.
Carol and I were on air covering January 6th when it happened. We were speaking to our colleagues who were at the Capitol who were, felt under attack. And I remember watching that and thinking, wow, there's no way that Trump is going to win this election because Americans are being reminded of this, right?
Right.
But it's like January 6th never happened. to so many people, including lawmakers who stand side by side with the president, and at one point were very critical of him. And I'm just curious, is like, does that stuff not matter in today's age?
Or does it, or does that really matter to show that there are people who somehow feel like, I don't have representation, I'm looking for another way? I don't know if that's part of.
Well, I mean, I think, look, it also gets to the core, and we'll talk about economics,
right,
but it's
sorry.
like, obviously, it was what voters felt like, you know, they were driven by economic issues at the polls, not democracy issues.
I think they were driven by,
Right.
motivated by
Well,
economic
that
issues.
also is
And they were also reacting
America.
to Biden's presidency that they thought in some ways didn't work very well. And I think part of the reason why January 6th was not front and center is cognitive dissonance. Once they said we're going to vote for the Republican alternative because we want to vote against the establishment, and right now the establishment is Biden, and the left, you know, is always more at the center of liberal democracy because it was, you know, things like the New Deal liberalism or the social democracy in Europe that led the charge. So it's more associated with establishment. So anti-establishment feeling turns against that. And then cognitive dissonance. I don't want to hold two conflicting thoughts in my mind. I'm going to support Trump. Well, then I'll downplay January 6th. But the media ecosystem played a very important role. If the media ecosystem was integrated, and the communities were integrated, that would be much harder because your brother, you wouldn't be fighting with your brother, and he would remind you, look, or don't you forget January 6th. But today, either in your community there is nobody who has an opposite view to yours, or if they do, the situation has become so polarized that you don't listen to them because you think of them as the enemy, even when they are your brother. And that's really not very productive. But that's
okay. This is one area, I don't know where he's going to go with this, but the way I feel about that is that there is also fundamental lack of shared facts between opposing views, right? And when I'm fighting with chuds online and, you know, trolling them or whatever, my overall point is that the ship has drifted into an epistemic nebula. Oh, epistemic nebula sounds great. I want that on a t-shirt. Wait, I need to remember that. Epistemic nebula. Maybe I should write it down. Oh man, I kind of forgot what I was going to say. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Shit. I had something to say and I forgot it. Damn it. Man, I hate my brain. I hate my brain. I hate my brain. Let me go. Whoops. No, I don't want to go back that far.
We don't need to be in that ecosystem.
Do you think, and we're going to take a break and then come back and talk some more, in terms of social media companies, technology companies, there needs to be some kind of greater regulation over them in terms of these platforms because they are so influential?
Yes, absolutely. So
that's
let's
cool,
take a step
Paul.
back.
Facebook actually working
And
for change.
Democracy needs citizenry, as we discussed, but that needs to be informed citizenry. So information
That's what I was talking about.
relevant for politics in some level is a public good. And if it becomes very polluted, it makes things very difficult. So imagine that a mayor takes important steps and shows how you can rebuild your community, provide better public services, improve things.
You mean the job of a mayor?
For example.
Well,
But
I
then
don't think
social
that-
media
Then you need to.
present.
I think he might. That a lot of people say that, and I just said I don't agree with that, and I choose to call out that we have a lack of shared facts, and that this is also about human rights. I'm not having just a how to get there debate with people on the right. I'm starting at point zero with what are we even talking about? Right? We can't even get to the part of the conversation, which is what are your ideas and what are my ideas and where can we compromise? That's a whole other set of conversations that absolutely can happen. But unless we have some shared facts in the beginning, like trans rights are human rights and that women and birthing people should have access to, access to abortion health care, all of those things absolutely. But until we have some shared facts, or at least that the detractors of human rights are are pushed to the side, back under the rocks that they came from, and then we can try and create a more perfect union. That is what my personal. I understand all these people who are like, oh, you gotta just be able to talk to people. Well, you have to be able to talk to people with some kind of respect for each other, in terms of and a respect for the absolute facts of human rights. That is really literally when what I try to represent in the world. And so I will not agree that, it's all about, listening. Because I think there's some showstoppers, right? I think there's some things that absolutely stop us from moving forward. And for me, it's like human rights or civil rights, or an agreement that the word woke is not a bad word, right? Like that we're so far away from, let's have a compromised conversation, in terms of individuals talking to each other. I don't mean from a political standpoint per se. But I'm going to tell you right now, like, the disinformation pushed us to a point where we can't have those conversations. Okay? That's what I'm seeing.
Sense that as a complete failure to everybody, that's going to create real difficulties. Now, but it's a very delicate issue. Liberalism, as I said, has to stand for freedoms, and freedom of speech is critical. And I'm an absolutist.
Even if you don't believe in that, or it's a controversial position.
Absolutely. I am
that
actually
is so important to this.
I am a free speech absolutist. I think individuals should be free to express their opinion. But I don't think free speech extends to algorithms.
Yes.
So I should be able to say whatever you want. You should be able to say whatever you want, Carol. But then if algorithms take the worst of what we say and amplify that, that's not freedom of speech. That's manipulation. So that's why we need to put some rules for algorithms. For example, one thing that would work is if we go back to the MySpace day, without algorithmic feed, on social media, TikTok wouldn't work because it's exactly based on this algorithmic feed model. But the other ones would work. Facebook could work, where just like before, you would go and listen to or watch the videos from your friends and neighbors or the trusted news sources, but not from the most incendiary sources that have been just fed to you by the algorithm. That would, at one fell swoop, really change the dynamics of how we communicate.
And the financial structure of that business.
I know.
I mean, that's the other thing.
Why do you think they're doing it?
No, I know exactly.
It all comes down to that one word, engagement,
right?
Which is what investors care about.
Yep.
We're going to take a break.
Fantastic.
And we're going to come.
This is the tension. Okay. And why I thought it was actually important to show you a Bloomberg interview. I'm just hearing decades of riff raised by this guy. Well, I don't agree with you, Meowing Star. So I think it's more nuanced than that. I think he's talking about, so I don't agree with you. I don't agree with everything he says either, but I'm also bringing information that I think is important. And I think another piece to this is the fact that Bloomberg is struggling right now, right? These hosts are struggling with the fact that algorithms are the way that corporations make money and then please their shareholders. And the fact that algorithms also are a plague on our national discourse, right? That's what I'm hearing. So I don't actually hear Ben Shapiro or Steven Crowder in this. I'm sorry that you do, but I'm taking different things from it. I also don't agree with him that it is, as I just gave a speech about, I don't agree with him that it's just about, oh, let's just agree with each other, or let's just talk to each other and, give respect to people that say that, that people shouldn't have access to abortion care and abortion is murder. Those people are the ones I can't have that conversation because I don't agree that abortion is murder. So that's kind of where we're at. And for me, I win in that regard because the default should be human rights for everybody and civil rights and access. You see what I'm saying? And I actually don't need to censor disinformation because I don't think that's possible. I think I could label it as an opinion because when I was younger, that's what we did. The news had news for the first 25 minutes. And then, okay, that's fine. I'm not going to argue with you about it. I'm just saying that I don't agree with you, but that's fine. I don't want to fight about it. There's more important thing, like we don't disagree on the overall kind of, point of this. Anyway, okay, forget it. I got distracted. Here we go.
Come back.
Oops.
I can talk some more because
This is a great conversation. I want to continue it.
Thank you.
Let me see. Okay.
Money plays a role in politics.
Money in politics.
We
you don't
do
have
not
to be sorry. You don't have to
regulate how
apologize
money
or
is
be
used.
Sorry. You can
go ahead.
Then,
Take a drink.
Yeah.
I
will just say, Brendan, thank you for sending that message in.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that great question. So if we do not regulate how money is used in politics, then one person, one vote doesn't really mean much. There are several political scientists who have documented that members of the House and Senate listen much more to their wealthier constituents. And then it's no surprise that most Americans say, elected representatives don't speak for us.
Well, that's who they're exposed to at fundraisers. I mean, if you go,
Right. That's what they need to get elected.
They
right?
need money to get elected.
Yeah.
They need wealthy people to donate the money. They go, they interact with them, and
I would argue that
social status is very tied to money too.
Yeah.
But isn't the toothpaste out of the tube at this point? You said if we need to take there is money, as the Supreme Court said that there's essentially no limit to this.
I know that's a problematic decision, and it's also intersect with what I just said. If corporations have rights, perhaps algorithms have rights, then we should give free speech to algorithms. No, I don't think we want to think about it that way. It's the individuals and communities that should participate in politics, not corporations per se. Of course, humans form corporations, and those humans have their own say. They don't also need to agree. I can be in the same firm as you, and we can have very different political views. So giving that corporation sort of the fiduciary or not, like the legal representation as if it's an individual, what happens to our disagreements?
Well, that's where we are.
So two things I think we want to touch on, because then we only have, unfortunately, about 6 minutes. So AI, helpful, hurtful, we don't know.
All to play for. There is no doubt in my mind, AI is a transformative technology. You can already see it. And it's going to advance even further. Mm-hmm. But if AI goes in the direction of automating more and more jobs, displacing workers, making many occupations obsolete and the people who used to perform them dispensable, I think that's not consistent with either shared prosperity nor
put on the headphones
liberal democracy.
Get on the mower.
Because remember, liberal democracy requires us as citizens participate, and that's part of the dignity of work is part of that. Having the means, having the importance in public life is part of that. If we create a two-tier society with a lot of people who don't have a job or who are marginally employed, that's going to be a big challenge. But here is the catch. There is nothing in AI that says it should create inequality or it should automate work. AI is the best information technology ever invented. It can provide us very relevant information for problem solving, for doing our jobs better, for doing new things. Mm-hmm. And that's the idea that I call pro-worker AI. Developing AI in a way that's not going to sideline workers, but make workers more productive at what they do, more central to the production.
This is a very good point. I have one issue with him, and it's just his basic assumption that his arguments are made in good faith. That's a very, I agree with that. He does seem to just take it all. And that to me, and to what Meowing Star was bringing up too, I think that, and as I expected, and maybe my expectations are low when it comes to Bloomberg or these types of interviews, is that I notice people really trying to avoid some of the harder language, especially in interviews with people like Bloomberg and financial shit, which is oriented more towards, corporate audiences. And so I just find it interesting. Now, I think he is, it is kind of a it's not theoretical, but he's kind of at a higher level than what I would perceive, like Meowing Star said, what is actually happening on the ground. But I think it is a combination of all of the things, right? Things that he's saying make sense in terms of what the impact to liberalism is for all of these inputs, if you will. And he's got some good points. I don't agree with him on everything, obviously. I think that kind of, division piece is one where I really just call bullshit on people that are like, well, it's just a matter of us talking to each other. No, it clearly isn't just a matter of us talking to each other. It's clearly a matter of what are the policies that the parties are willing to put on their platform and fight for, and what change for the benefit of people would a party actually provide. Those are really, and the definitions of what are human rights, what are civil rights, and that there are some right answers in that, right? And that the right answer isn't to restrict access to abortion health care, isn't to restrict trans people from expressing themselves, completely, and getting their IDs taken away in Kansas and other places, and just the outright violence that's being supported by this fucking administration with their fucking little films about wolves in white coats and bullshit. So there's a ton of input, but I think that it's really what I'm hearing is that what is the history of liberalism and how are these different inputs impacting it? But anyway.
Process. And that's critically not just for educated workers. Imagine plumbers and electricians, many of whom are doing critical work for us and are underpaid, and we need more of them. Imagine them becoming better and better. Both the training of these trades improves, but more importantly, with better problem-solving capabilities, with better information in their hands, they can do many more things. And that's going to be so important if we can go in that direction.
Are these massive firms that we talk about each and every day developing pro-worker AI?
No, that's the problem. That's the problem. So if you want to look at how glass is half full, you're absolutely right, Tim. That's not where we're going.
Yeah.
But I don't think we should lose hope, because if we suddenly had a change of heart among the young, amazing talent that goes into the tech sector and said, no, rather than chase this dream of AGI, artificial general intelligence, artificial superintelligence, we want to do things that are helpful for how people communicate, how workers, including nurses, educators, plumbers, electricians, really do their job. We'll get them. It's not actually that hard to develop these technologies. It's much easier than developing super intelligent physicists. But that's not where we're putting our eggs.
Do we need the government to get us? I mean, what's a company to say, I'm about making money, I'm going to go that path, which is a capitalistic society. If you become public, you want to reward your shareholders. I
think the government has a role to play.
Okay.
But let me make two other points, Carol. First of all, I don't think that developing pro-worker AI would be a money-losing proposition. If you're a company, if you can make your workers more productive, that's also beneficial for you. But it's only a mindset for a manager to say, labor is a cost, I'm going to try to eliminate it. Labor is also your asset. And also tech companies that develop successful technologies of this sort, there will be markets for it. Whether at the margin will be more or less profitable than other things, details will determine that. But it's not going to be a money-losing proposition if it's really worthwhile to do.
You're right.
But we need to get there, and that's not where we are. The government has an important role, so does democratic society. These technologies are going to influence all of us. All of our lives are going to be shaped by it. But by the way, we are fortunate in the United States because they are going to shape the lives of another 6 billion people who don't live in the United States and in China. But they have no say. We at least have a say. We're still a democracy. Liberal democracy is in crisis, but we're still a democratic nation. So we can influence those things, and it's just the right time to do it.
We just have about a minute and a half left. In the beginning,
there's so much more to discuss. I'll come back.
So you're gonna have to come back. But you say the path ahead is not easy. Forging working class liberalism is a tall order in the best of times and much more challenging in today's polarized environment with little trust in institutions and elites. Still, we have no alternative but to try. If liberalism does not remake itself, it will be anti-liberal, anti-democratic alternatives such as new oligarchies, authoritarianism, ethno-nationalism,
he's not wrong
deep-rooted
about
hierarchy, or renewed extreme progressive movements,
Not wrong about that.
will win out.
I
So the
think
alternative
people
is not great.
people
It's
dread
not
it.
great at all. But the way that I see it is like I draw an analogy
Good,
with
Max. You gotta
the
write
Roman
a book.
Empire. You can say the Roman Empire collapsed because the barbarians were very strong. But I think that's with the wrong perspective. The Roman Empire collapsed because it had lots of problems inside, and that enabled the barbarians to exploit it.
Hello.
It's the same with liberal democracy. We have problems inside liberal democracy. We didn't live up to our promises, to our great potential, and that has made those anti-establishment ideas, some of them very ugly, something that people turn to in reaction. So if liberalism remakes itself, I think it still has a lot of momentum.
You have faith.
I have faith. I have hope.
Do we have the right people to do it?
No. That's to be continued.
So watch things like midterms and things. Yeah. Come back, please.
man.
I would
That's
love to.
fun.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, he said no. We don't have the right people. Wow. 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 Extreme progressive movements, yes. Oren saying hi to everybody. Yeah, I appreciate. Actually, I thought that was a very interesting interview. I don't understand like the how political, I don't know what you would call liberalism, but just a set of ideals, I guess, how those evolve and how they were developed. I don't know much about the history, I guess. Max, I always get confused when Rewolf is here. Yeah, I know. Maintenance of the periphery. Yeah, I mean, I think we're in for some big changes, and I'm excited to see what happens next. Yeah, communism. LOL. Yeah, I'm excited to. I mean, I'm hopeful that we're going to end up with policies and practices that actually support human life. Oh, that was Paul. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Oh yeah, Paul said extreme progressive movements. Yeah. So I think that I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. I think we're already seeing some of the fruits of that with wins by more progressive Democrats and establishment stuff that some powerful people think was bad. Apparently, yeah. So I think that I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think it's an interesting. To me, it's more of a 30,000 foot view of what's happening. And again, I think my real issue with him is kind of downplaying the fact that if we only talk to each other, then everything would be fine. I'm not sure actually how different. How you create that kind of societal change. I don't quite know how that transformation happens. It seems to me that people don't necessarily give up on their bigoted views. They just stop expressing them so openly. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to convince any maggot necessarily that, trans rights are human rights. But at the end of the day, trans rights are human rights. So it's not even, to me, that's not an opinion that I have. It's a fact. Right? That's what I'm trying to say, is that that is a shared fact that we should have. That in order to be the country that we said we were going to be, that everyone, unabashed, should have the right to exist in safety and thrive in their lives in the way that they want to thrive. That's all I think. That's what I want. Anyway, interesting. Good show. I enjoyed today's show. Thank you everyone for participating so much. I just love that. Naive hubris of the most privileged class. Yeah. An educated white passing cis het man. I'm not sure what that refers to, but I tend to agree. I don't know what that refers to, but okay. I definitely understand. Absolutely. That's the Ben Shapiro stuff of only we talk to each other. Yes, totally. I totally get that. I call bullshit on that too. And you know what? I think normies tend to think that. I'm not saying this guy's a normie, But I think normies are tending to think that, oh, if we just talk to each other, everything will be fine. But, again, comes back down to shared facts, shared goals, that everyone have rights. So anyway, I think that's the speaker's naivete about talking to people. Absolutely. I mean, but don't get too hung up on, you can get hung up on anything you want, so don't listen to me. But I'm just also saying, I think it's interesting to hear his perspective from the outside about how different things influence liberalism and degrade it, and an acknowledgement. And that's a lot, I think, to see on a very capitalist show like Bloomberg. That's the other piece that I think is remarkable about this, is that conversation happened on Bloomberg, which is much more focused on kind of corporations and earnings and all that shit. But anyway, they do have some interesting interviews once in a while. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming and spending some of the morning with me. I'm not waking up. There you go. And I'm not arguing. I'm not hugging it out with people who would be marching me into the gas chambers. Absolutely. I'm sorry. I mean, I will definitely talk to anyone. I really will. But I'm not having a debate about human and civil rights. I'm just not. That's not a debate I'm willing to have. You either are in support of human and civil rights or you're not. There is some black and white for me on that. And that's where I think we're in a little bit of trouble, is because people don't view human and civil rights as being impacted. And it's all for the gotcha, because some guy reflects the fucked up views that they have. Anyway. All right. I will see you tonight. We're having a documentary. I don't know which one it is. So 6:00 Pacific in Discord for those who know. And we will have some documentary, but I can't. I wanted to watch American Doctor, which is about an American doctor going to Gaza, but it's not out yet. They're doing public screenings in August. So hopefully this fall we'll be able to watch American Doctor, which is a doctor who was actually in Gaza. And I'm really, really interested to hear what his experience was like. So I'm looking forward to that, but that's opening soon too. We'll find another documentary for tonight. All right. Love y'all. Have a great day. Thanks again. And I don't know. Don't let the turkeys get you down. That's right. It's Documentary Tuesday. All right. Bye.